the port as pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV, and welcome to this video, which is, it's kind of a reply video to a reply video. Now, I really love doing these. Now, it concerns a certain individual who I've already made a reply video to. I did it last May. I made a reply video to this person, and it is Dave Cullen, known as Computing Forever. Now, Computing Forever is the sobriquet, the YouTube sobriquet. Well, not just YouTube now, he's had to move to BitChute like I have as well. Can't put all your eggs in the YouTube basket these days. But Computing Forever is the YouTube moniker of one Dave Cullen, an Irish chap, who he began talking about electronics and things like that, but he soon got onto the anti-SJW scene, the sort of men's rights activist scene, as I explained in the video. My last video was a reply to him. I'm talking about UFOs. He did a video about UFOs, and he made a lot of mistakes in that video, and so I felt compelled to respond to him and correct him in his errors, which I did so. This is a completely different situation. Firstly, this is not a reply to Dave Cullen as such. It's a reply to someone replying to him. Now, what's happened, I'll give you a bit of background. Dave Cullen is part of the internet skeptic, the anti-SJW side of the internet skeptic scene. Now, without going into lots and lots of details about background, I cover this in my Skeptics 2018 video, which is the sort of like the last bit, the last couple of hours of that, last hours of that 4-hour video. But there's been a split in the skeptic community between basically kind of left and right wing ideals. The left wing ones formed Atheism Plus. They wanted to introduce ideas to do with feminism and things like that. Dave and many other people like him, Micro Media and Sargon of Akkad and all these other people, they formed the backlash to that, which was those of a, I suppose, a libertarian capitalist bent, who were essentially anti-feminists, and they wanted atheism and skepticism to remain as it was, which is essentially, well, we deal with God and we deal with science, and that's it. We don't want to get involved in any other political kind of ideals. So that's kind of what happened. Now, Dave was a part of that contingency. And I'm sorry, do you mind if I just change the camera angle slightly? I've got a little. I'm going to change the camera angle slightly. Sorry about this. It's just I can't get it right. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. How's that? That's a bit better. I'm sort of wonky. It's because of the tripod I use. It's actually a pile of DVD cases. Anyway, yeah, my tripod actually doesn't fit on there. I need one of those small tripods, which I'm going to get soon. Dave was always part of that. He was always part of that. The side of the skeptic, the skeptosphere, the atheo-skeptosphere. He was always on the anti-SJW side, and he made a lot of videos. He's made a lot of videos since then. In fact, he's focusing primarily on this. He still does his electronics reviews. You know, good best phone, best computer, best this, that, and the other. And he's kept his name Computing Forever, even though people have asked him if he's going to change it. However, he's primarily geared towards the same thing that Sargon of Akkad does, and these other sort of anti-feminist MRA, anti-SJW people within the skeptosphere. However, he recently released a video called The God Pill, and it described his own feelings at going through a spiritual awakening. It was by far the most interesting video Dave has ever produced, and I watched it with enormous interest, and I was very keen to watch it, and I found it both surprising and moving. But since then, of course, this has caused the usual sensation on YouTube. Let me just, I haven't got everything in my notes now. By the way, if the light on my face changes, it's because of I'm using, as you know, I use the monitor as a light source, but I'll try to keep something bright on there, like a Word document. So I do. I'm kind of like, there's always something bright on my face. Okay, right. Now, somebody did a little reply to Computing Forever. They did a reply to this particular video, the God Pill. And the reply they did is the replier is a certain person called Kevin Logan. And I think I might have mentioned him before. He's one of my biggest, what do I call it? Well, I'm one of his biggest hate followers. It's a weird thing, right? I find this person insufferable. I really do. He's it's a weird thing. I mean, does anyone else have this? Is anyone else in this situation where there's someone you're someone you just can't abide, but you find yourself mysteriously drawn towards watching their material on YouTube or following them on Twitter and things like that? I'm not the only one. Surely there's others who have who sort of hate follow people. Kevin Logan is my biggest hate follow. I mean, actually he doesn't subscribe to me. I don't think he's only replied to me a couple of times in comments when I'm having a go at him. But I watch almost everything he puts up because obviously I don't think I've ever done a reply video to him like the one I'm doing now, but I am doing it. He made a video called "Looking at Computing Forever's
format of stream."
Okay, Looking at Computing Forever's religious conversion bullshit. It's a good start, isn't it? So I decided I would do. He illustrated the video with a picture of Jesus holding a lamb, and he's photoshopped Dave's head onto the lamb's head. I won't show you that now. It's pretty revolting and very childish, which is, I'm afraid, very typical of Kevin Logan. Kevin Logan is a male feminist. And he's kind of like, I don't think he's actually into atheism plus and things like that. So he's not like on the side of, say, Rebecca Watson or PZ Myers or any of these people. He's not actually on their side as such, but he's kind of more a commentator. But he's definitely he's very left wing, and he supports that kind of thing. He supports the political correctness and the other things that are in the other kind of like cultural Marxist tendencies that have moved into the atheoskeptic movement. Now, he's this sort of rather chubby, bearded brummie. He lives somewhere in Birmingham, I guess, and he's... thing is, like, for those of you who aren't British, Brummie is an inhabitant of Birmingham, our second city, which, as you know, is not one of my favourite places. Sorry, no offence, Dave Hodrian. He's an exception. But they have a distinct accent. You can hear Dave has it as well, Dave Hodrian. But Kevin is sort of like... I suppose there is a stereotype in Britain. We portray Brummies as kind of like a bit dim. And I thought they're sort of like a bit... Don't really know what's going on, right? It's a bit, it's a bit beyond my intelligence level, things like that. Well, Kevin is intelligent. He's not stupid. But he kind of fits the stereotype. There is a stereotype he does fit, and that is the kind of... sort of neck-bearded young basement dweller, etc., etc. I don't know if he's actually single or not, but he lives with a cat. He lives with this lovely ginger cat, which he calls Rory Cats. Who's very, very sweet, and I much prefer Rory Cats to Kevin, his owner. I follow Rory Cats on Instagram. He has his own Instagram page, but I don't follow Kevin on Instagram. Okay, we're just going to take a closer look at Kevin Logan's channel. This is his main channel, Kevin Logan. Now he actually has 3 channels. He has some backup channels as well, because this channel keeps getting into trouble. Now this is where I'll come into that in a minute. But anyway, his material is, as I said, it's from a left-wing anti-feminist or pro-feminist. It's a double negative, isn't it? Anti-feminist, from a pro-feminist position, and you can see exactly what I mean when you look at him. And there is the beautiful and lovely Rory Cat, who I hold in much higher esteem than his owner, as I was saying. In his arms there. He has a series of videos, and he actually has video series which he gives names, but generally he just has like standalone videos which he makes about various people. And it is people. Most of his output is about other people. He's a commentator on the output of others, as he is in this video that I'm reviewing, the one he's made, which I'm reviewing, about Dave Cullen, Computing Forever. This has inevitably got him into some trouble with other people, because a lot of them don't take kindly to his commentary, which tends to be very scathing. He tends generally to make videos about people he doesn't like.
He may make one about me. If he feels like flattering me that much, he can make one about me. He's got 12,000 subscribers, which is slightly more than me, unfortunately. Oh dear. But he's like I said, I watch most of his stuff. I really do. He has series like this Prager FU, and I'll talk more about PragerU in a minute. But he's written he's got like a what's the word? He has a kind of like a series of videos on the PragerU channel, replies saying how awful, as the title suggests, Prager FU. He's saying how awful he finds the channel, and he sort of takes apart what they do. He swears a lot in his videos. He's not drunk on his videos. I don't think he drinks when he's doing his videos. He just sits there in an armchair with Rory cats crawling around somewhere close to him. His hair beard tends to grow a lot to a certain length, and he cuts it all off, and it grows again over the course of a couple of months. I do the same thing, but it's like just once a week. But with him, it's like once every few months. He has a series of videos called The Descent of Manosphere, where he makes videos which are sometimes very often unfair. Apart from the only one I really agree with completely is the one he did about Rouge V. But they're pretty unfair. I think most of them. Sometimes he makes valid criticisms. They're quite funny because he has interludes with pictures of Rory cats as a baby, a little kitten, and things like that. And these dancing sheep interludes and things like that. They're quite well concocted videos, I must say. They have amusing titles and stuff like that. But basically, he does criticisms of various people within the manosphere. That is the men's rights activist, anti-feminist, MGTOW, etc. community. And that is the people opposed to atheism plus, etc. He makes videos about those. He hasn't made one about my career media, which I wish he would do. I mean, honestly, I do sometimes enjoy his output. Like I said, I do enjoy his output. Some of it is amusing and quite. And as for me, who likes, I suppose there's a part of me that enjoys conflict when it's on a sort of like rational level. I mean, I don't get into the usual trolling and abuse exchanges, but I do love rational criticism, and I think this is why Kevin appeals to me. I think this is the reason. I think if I analyse myself, this is why Kevin appeals to me. I just watch his videos, and I think you're talking crap about this, that, and the other. And I usually think it just in my head, but sometimes I put it down. I put it down on celluloid, as you see I'm doing now. The reason he's got 3 channels is, like I said, he keeps getting his channel struck with copyright attacks and various other flaggings and things like that, which is all too common in YouTube. And it's inevitably going to happen to him when he's the centre of what he does is criticism of others. This does not justify what they do to him. I'm not saying this is a justification to flag his channel or remove his channel and get copyright strikes and things like that on his videos. It's not. You know that I am totally opposed to that kind of thing, even against my worst enemies. I would not advocate that at all. And Kevin is not my worst enemy, believe it or not. Kevin's quite a moderate enemy compared to most. I got annoyed with him actually because he did a video a little while ago which I thought was rather. I didn't like it at all because it generally meant it was all about demonetization. He got his video demonetized a little while ago, and this was because what happened was, let me just find the video. Yeah, it was one moment. I'll just hit pause and find the video. Yeah, it was Stephen Crowder, the conservative commentator, got demonetized. He got his YouTube channel demonetized. And Kev was demonetized at the same time. And I actually put a comment on this video. I actually said, where was it? Where's the video I put on? But I was quite annoyed by his attitude. Actually, I do comment on his videos sometimes, and I do believe he's deleted my comment. I can't find it anyway. But I can remember what I said. I more or less said something like, "Well, Kevin, will you now agree with me that demonetization of anyone is a bad idea? That when YouTube demonetized because of ideological reasons, it's wrong. And I don't approve of what was done to Stephen Crowder, but I also don't approve of what was done to you either. I don't approve of what was done. I think neither of you should have been demonetized." And I don't know I think he's deleted the comment. I can't see it on there. Anyway, It's that's our Kev. That's Kevin Logan. Now, during the course of this video, you might find yourself becoming very angry with Kevin, and you might feel very annoyed with him as I basically go through his commentary to Dave Cullen. But what I'm saying now, I'm telling you now, please do not approach Kevin Logan in a hostile manner. If you're going to deal with him, or either ignore him or deal with him, the best way you can deal with these people, which is to deconstruct their points rationally. Okay, so please do not, if you're going to interact with him, please interact with him politely. That's all I want to say.
So, Kevin is often accompanied, his closest ally in the YouTube world is Dr. Christy Winters. Now, she is a female feminist, and she has a channel which I do subscribe to, and I do watch. Yes, I think I'll probably just get bored by listening to people I like and support. I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I do want to know what the other side are thinking. But she's pretty much as insufferable as Kevin, which is why they get on so well.
And here is the channel of Christy Winters. This is here, Dr. K.M. Winters, liberal atheist, feminist, social scientist nerd. Yeah, she is actually a social scientist. That's her job. She's American. She comes from Minnesota, but she lives in Germany. In I think it's Cologne she lives. She sometimes posts her holiday videos up, which is the only ones I actually thumb up. Again, like as with Kev, I watch a lot of her output. Not as much as I do with Kev, but I do watch her various things, such as Weekend Winters. I wrongly call it Sunday Winters later on in the video, but it's called Weekend Winters, which she does every Sunday. And she does interviews with various people, and she's not afraid actually to engage with her opponents. She's done did a very interesting debate with Sargon of Akkad. She debated a couple of other people. But a lot of the interviews she does is she debated Rin Michaelis as well. She has actually debated, who is a good friend of mine, actually a good YouTube friend of mine, who's a radical centrist, as she described herself. So Christy's debated with Rin, but she often does. She also does. She does interviews with a lot of people she agrees with as well, such as Steve Shives and Chrissy Ossity and several others. Her position is very similar to Kevin, and she and Kevin collaborate a lot, as I explain. They do their Christy and Kev's happy hour quite regularly. Kevin calls her the General. I suppose one thing she does, which is it's not unusual actually, because Steve Shives does this as well, who she often interviews with. She has a monthly hangout with her people who pay into her Patreon. So if you support her financially, you might get invited to the monthly Patreon hangouts, and they're actually quite good. Now I was toying with the idea of paying some money into a Patreon so I could get invited, but of course that's never going to happen, is it, Christine? No. It's not worth. No, I'm not going to. I think if it worked, I would do it. I'd give her a bit of cash if she'd have me on the hangout. Well, the moment I open my mouth, I get banned. But anyway, her Patreons, including Steve Shives up here, they're kind of like, they're all sort of like left-wing feminist type people. They're mostly quite funny. Most of them are not particularly unpleasant, but they're quite funny. There's one very charismatic French lady who appears called Lito, and she's got a lovely accent, lovely voice, and her avatar is one of those disabled symbols, the stick man in a wheelchair, and it has and the stick man looks like a pirate, has like a bandana and an eye patch, and is holding a cutlass in their hand. I think she's quite funny. She's quite a charismatic French lady. And you'll be hearing a lot from her in this particular video. Now, as I said with Kevin, if you wish to interact with Christy, please do so politely. Do not approach her in a hostile manner. The best way to deal with Christy, as it is with Kev and with any people like her, is to deconstruct their points rationally. Do not attack her or do anything nasty to her at all. You be polite, be rational, take her apart, take her points apart one by one with logic and reason. That is how you deal with these people, and that's all. That's the only way I recommend interacting with these people in any way.
And they often do joint videos on both their channels. They do this thing called Christy and Kev's Happy Hour, which they do out every few days, and where they just do a show together, and they kind of like go through everything and say, in very, very foul language, and really scathing terms, which you're going to hear a lot of in this video. They talk about how awful somebody like, I don't know, they got their favourite targets are Sargon of Akkad, Baring, the Australian guy, and a few other people. Dave, of course, Dave Cullen is one of those people who is on their hit list. And well, Kevin is sort of like, Kevin and Christy are kind of allies. Although I must say, I do wonder what Christy really thinks of Kevin. I mean, I actually do. I don't want to go into too much into detail on this because it is a digression. But please, I want to ask a question of my female viewers. How many of you honestly say you respect male feminists? You actually feel respect for male feminists? How many of you do? I wouldn't be surprised if it's not many of you. And so, I mean, Kevin and Christy are good friends, and she's nice to him. But I wonder what she really thinks when she looks at him and listens to him. I do wonder what she really thinks of him. So we have, anyway, we're going to start. Now, there's a big long preamble. They always ramble on about nothing in particular, and there's always, their happy hours are very informal. They just simply chat together, Christy and Kev, and they talk about nothing in particular. So I'm going to skip to 9 minutes 27 when the subject matter of this particular video starts. This is the video they're making in reply to Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, which is a response to his video, The God Pill. Now, if you want to go, I'll put a link in the description box to Kevin's channel and Christy's channel, also Dave Cullen's, and indeed the video, The God Pill. I mean, it's probably best to watch The God Pill first and let me know what you think of and think about what it means before you actually listen to Kev and Christy attempt to constructively criticise the video. So I'll start now. I'll start the video now. Like I'm doing, there's a number of timestamps here. I'm just going to go through as many points as I can and cover as much as I can with this.
Oh, did you see fucking Computing Forever? And it's...
That's Kevin speaking. You can hear his Brummie accent. He's sitting there with his Aston Villa t-shirt with his big beard. He's, you know, he unfortunately, I don't know if it's fair or not, but Kevin does fit the stereotype. I'm just going to move this slightly so you get a bit more light on me. He does fit the stereotype perfectly, I'm afraid. Oh, anyway, here we go. He said, "Do you hear
religious conversion shit?"
Did you see Computing Forever's religious conversion shit? Well, that's a good start, isn't it? That's a nice, impartial, intellectually endearing introduction to the subject.
No, what?
That's Christy, who's American but lives in Germany.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Well, Computing Forever, who I've covered before, was... Well, I think he still
Kevin keeps dropping out this kind of...
is an atheist, but he's never a religious atheist. He did this really weird video, which I suppose we can...
No, he's in a religious atheist. I think he's being silly now. But I should point out, Kevin has a rather bad Skype connection, and for the first basically until the last quarter of an hour of this video, he keeps dropping out for about 8 seconds every minute or so. But so anyway, I'll let him. He's as you see, this is a pretty awful introduction to the subject matter, and you know you're in for some trouble, don't you?
Watch if you want to, because there's nothing particularly on the docket, so to speak.
I hope you can hear Kev. Actually, I've got the speakerphone right up, the extended speaker right up by the camera microphone. So I'm gonna. It's hopefully you'll hear it.
Where he basically has done like a moving to Jesus thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the God Pill, Dave is essentially, I mean, moving to Jesus is an oversimplification. Indeed, you're going to get a lot of oversimplifications in this video. But Kev is basically saying, explaining that what the video actually says, the God Pill, is that Dave is experiencing after being, as he explained in the video, how he was brought up in a religious family, like many Irish people. His family were religious. He became an atheist as a teenager, I believe. And now he is feeling the pull of the desire for a spiritual awakening. Indeed, it's similar to what I mean. Really, I mean, listening to this. Maybe I'll say more about this at the end. But I mean, you read like "Surprised by Joy" by C.S. Lewis, and these other people who've written about their spiritual awakenings, their Kundalini experiences, whatever you like to call them. There's suddenly awareness of spiritual, a rise of the existence of a spiritual element of the universe, and it makes this video by Kevin Logan 10 times as puerile as it actually is, and it's puerile enough even if you haven't read those documents.
But all of his arguments, well, it's absolutely fucking festooned with.
Absolutely fucking festooned with
dog whistles too.
Dog whistles. Okay, I'll explain what a dog whistle is. Now, a dog whistle, of course, is a device which you blow it, and it makes no for human ears. It makes no noise at all, but dogs can hear it. It's a whistle which only dogs can hear because it's a very high frequency whistle, which is above the level of a human hearing, but is within the hearing capacity of a dog, because dogs can hear much higher frequency sounds than we can. So that's what. Now, in what Kevin is, it's used as an analogy within the SJW kind of community. SJW stands for Social Justice Warrior, actually, which is it's an ironic title because they're some of the most unfair and injustice-loving people in the world. Basically, the people who attacked me in London the other week, they're SJWs. Kevin would support what was done to me. I'm sure he really would. Now. It's used as an analogy. What it means is that it means that a dog whistle is something that somebody says in its analogy form, which actually, on the surface, it actually is when you say something that is apparently harmless on the surface, but you actually mean something else, really. And only a dedicated cultural Marxist left-winger can actually decipher the dog whistle and actually pick out the real meaning behind your words. So, for example, if I say, the rain in Spain rains mainly on the plain. Harmless statement, isn't it? Yes, but it's a dog whistle, you see. It's a dog whistle. The SJW knows what I'm really saying. What I'm really saying is I'm using code. I'm saying that the rain in Spain means Muslim immigrants coming to Spain, and rains mainly on the plain actually refers to an attempt to push them out of cities into the countryside where they can die of starvation. That's what I'm really saying, you see. I mean, of course, the problem with dog whistles is it's a completely unfalsifiable hypothesis. You know, whatever you say, someone could interpret as a dog whistle, because and dog whistle analysis is an act of the imagination. You know, you simply have to listen to someone that says, and you can imagine that they're saying they've got some hidden meaning behind it, and within their belief system, that becomes fact. And there's no way you can prove them wrong. There's no way anyone can ever say, well, actually, look, I don't really mean that. When I say the rain in Spain rains mainly on the plain, I actually literally mean that. Say, you say that, but we know it's racist. You're a racist, and you're using this. You're secretly signalling to your other racist. That's what it really means. So there's no point, actually, if someone accuses you of a dog whistle, there's nothing you can do to defend yourself. Absolutely nothing. Whatever you say, you can never prove yourself innocent. So that's what Kev means when he says dog whistle. He's accusing Dave of having loads of these dog whistles in his video.
Nationalist, white genocide bullshit, right?
Okay, he's white nationalist, white genocide bullshit. You're right, he's saying that Dave is secretly hinting at these things.
And appeals to emotion, right? Like he spent years doing he's
appealing to emotion. Well, it's it's only the first video he's made on this subject. I mean, give him a chance to make some more. Facts
over feels, you feminazis. And now he literally says several times, it doesn't really matter if you believe in Jesus, because it's important. Christianity is really important to saving the Western civilization.
That's not exactly what he says. No, he doesn't exactly say that. You'll find out. I'll go into that in more detail later.
Yeah, so he's basically doing, it doesn't really matter if it's true, just it's good, it feels right for the Western
He's not saying that.
peoples.
Basically, look.
By the way, am I the only one who thinks Kevin Logan's got the most irritating voice imaginable?
I like patriarchy,
and so he doesn't.
Patriarchy is one of Christy Winter's catchphrases. And indeed, it's a feminist trope. It basically means evil white straight males rule everything. And if they don't have to rule everything, well, that's just... They do really, you see, but because they're using all these dog whistles and things, it's almost like a kind of social dog whistle. If it looks like a white heterosexual male is not ruling something, he is really, but it's kind of like it's a more subtle kind of rulership. It's what's the word they use? Microaggression and things like that. Again, it's another thing that you can't really argue against within the way that the SJWs frame them.
The Peter Torch thing is just doing on.
Oh, he's gone off again. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We do get breaks from Kevin's voice sometimes because of the problems he got with Skype.
So if you want to look at that, we can.
Yeah, I've got it up on the screen here. If you were ready to go. Is it the God pill?
Okay.
That's it. Okay, I'm going to move forward to the next bit. This is 11:50. Okay, I'll try and make these as accurate as I can, but the problem is because there's a problem, and that is that it's a long video, and I might not be able to get them dead on. Here we go. Hang on, I'll move it forward a bit. There we are. I might want to get the slider dead on the progress part. I'll get as close as I can.
Dog whistle number 1.
Yeah, the only thing that's a threat to the Western world is Donald Trump and the existential threat of Brexit right now in terms of our countries.
What's Christy saying? The only existential threat to the Western world. I mean, I think they've just been watching a bit of Dave's video. I might go back a little bit, actually. I'll go back a little bit. But the only existential threat to the Western world, says Christy, is the threat of Brexit and Donald Trump. Can you imagine me and Christy at a dinner table? That would be a laugh. I bet you'd love to be a fly on the wall in that one, wouldn't you? I mean, you can just imagine the wine in the glasses would be boiling and the steak would be cooking on the plate, wouldn't it? I'll go back a little bit because I want to hear the first bit of Dave's video. Here we go.
I've waited a long time to make this video.
Alright, I gotta check the sound here. Up a bit, I think. Turn the physical speakers up. Okay.
Okay, I hope it's not too loud when Christy's talking, because her voice is louder than Kev's in this particular video.
So, yeah, pop in remember there's a lag. So, but interrupt whenever you want.
I've waited a long time to make this video.
That voice you hear now is Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, and they're basically going through the God Pill. And that's Recovering Faith: My Journey Back to Christianity, by Dave Cullen.
Mainly because I have no idea how people are going to react to it.
Yeah, he did. I think he did a very brave thing. I mean, I was looking through the comments. I'm not the only one who feels this, but I think I think even some of the people who are still atheists who follow him, I think respected him for what he did, for the things he said in this particular video. I think, as I said, I think it's the best video he's ever done. It's honest, and he knows that he is leaving behind a world that he used to be a part of, and now he's not anymore. Takes guts to do that.
I cover a lot of dark and tough subjects on this channel.
Yeah, he does.
The fall of the Western world and the fate of humanity type.
Dog whistle.
That's a dog whistle, says Kevin. Fall of Western world and fate of humanity is a dog whistle for, I don't know, evil racists and things like that. Again, you see, they smear our characters. It's like those people in London the other week. I mean, they just say these things with gay abandon. They say these horrible slurs against our characters. Racist, Nazi, fascist. I mean, and things like misogynist. They just blurt these things out without a second thought, without thinking not only how unoriginal it is and how everyone's saying it, but how unfair it is. What a horrible thing to say about somebody who 99 times out of 100 will be innocent of what they're accusing them of. And the thing is, they know it and they don't care. They just say it anyway.
Western world? I don't know. I'm looking
Dog
around.
whistle.
We're doing all right.
Dog whistle number 1. There's it.
Dog whistle, yeah.
12 seconds in. Dog whistle number 1.
Yeah, the only thing that's a threat to the Western world is Donald Trump and the existential threat of Brexit right now in terms of our countries.
Again, you could just imagine the hostess going, Ben, you're changing the subject suddenly. Ben, would you like a bit more gravy there? Anyway, I'll just let it play on a bit because I think, and then I've got some timestamps here. Helps me, but I might get some of them wrong.
So, I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh well,
anyway.
oh god, I'm now going to cross my right-wing arsehole memery, but Carl put out a video of him interviewed Black Pigeon Speaks.
Well, sorry, I don't know what they're talking about now. I'm going to move on slightly to the next timestamp. Here we go. Oh, no, back a bit. Oh dear. There we go. Okay, this is the next part. I don't have a description for this particular timestamp, but we'll just play it anyway.
Of course they didn't. It was right-wing hackery from start to finish.
So this is just the end of the last.
Well, what do you expect,
segment.
really?
I must point out, I'm not going to play every moment of Christy and Kev's video because if I did, this video would be about 6 hours long, and it's not a comments reply video. I can't do one of those now, but I'm making an effort to portray their points fairly, and to do that, I've selected a number of timestamps of points of where I want to interject, but I'm not going to review every single part of the video.
Okay, I guess I'll lock the screen on me, guys. That way Kevin won't flicker in and out. And here we go.
Technical problems are having.
Stuff. And through it all, simply calling out how bad things are or how crazy they've become can get repetitive unless a solution can be offered.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I've found that myself. I mean, I'm not in the same boat as Dave, but as you know, I'm not an atheist. I do have a spiritual awareness, although I'm not a Christian. But I feel a lot of affinity with Dave at this point, and especially the idea of needing solutions. Really, I mean, it's without that, well, what sort of state would I be in? You know, psychologically.
Unless there's a pathway to suggest to people we all need hope and to believe in a better world.
Yeah. I Need to Believe in a Better World is another title of his videos. For a long time it was the title track on the title video on his channel. I must say Dave Cullen is one of the most honest and sincere and likeable individuals within this particular movement. I mean, Sargon is... I do respect Sargon, I like a lot of what he does, but his motivations, I think, are partly selfish and personal. He likes the sensation, he likes to shock, he likes to annoy people and create scandal. Dave literally believes in what he's doing, and this is why he does what he does. That's my impression of listening to him.
And I hope this video explains not only my own journey towards an emerging spirituality, as well as some reason for optimism, but also offers a clear explanation of how we can overcome the existential threats facing our nations.
He does. He describes this well. I should point out that the video is not just Dave talking. I mean, he includes some good illustrations as well. It's a short video. It's only about a quarter of an hour, but it's really it's a magnificent thing to watch. It really is.
It seems now that a pattern is beginning to emerge among many of us.
Dog whistle number
that would
2.
be?
Oh, it's a dog whistle. Kevin's identified a dog whistle. A pattern is emerging among many of us. Right. Kevin is always hears a lot of dog whistles in what Dave says, and as I said, I think you can't take this accusation seriously for the reasons I've explained.
Just for people who might have missed it.
The existential threat to our nations.
There is an existential threat to our nations. It's the New World Order. It's not just to our nations, it's to our people, it's to everybody, it's to every single person in the world. Every single life form on Earth is affected by this. And I mean, I think when Dave says these things, it's not a dog whistle. I think Kev is implying that he means that the existential threat is, I don't know, the Jews or something. I think that's what Kev's implying. And of course, you can apply whatever, when you use the dog whistle accusation, you can apply whatever you like. You can crowbar whatever words you want into someone else's mouth when you're accusing them of dog whistling.
You mean Muslims?
That's...
Oh, Muslims, all right. So it's the Muslims, it's not the Jews, it's the Muslims, right. Though Dave actually doesn't refer, I think, to either religion in this particular video. And I don't think he actually means to. I mean, he's not like part of this rather shallow and rather a naive counter-jihad kind of movement. He's not a part of that. Nor is he like an anti-Zionist or anything like that. He's not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, you listen to watch the video I made about him on UFOs. Dave Cullen would no doubt consider me crazy, a loony. for my belief in UFOs. He is still like a very much a skeptic.
Yeah,
That's exactly
Trump
what he
is an
talks
existential threat.
Trump.
Just
Christie's always, along with Bering and Sargon of Akkad, Christie's got she's got like a real hate on for Trump. Really, she has. She's got Trump derangement syndrome, big time.
I've watched enough of Dave's content. I've watched enough of Dave's content to know that's what he means.
Right.
Trust.
Oh, that is not an explanation. I've watched enough of Dave's content. I know what he means. No, you don't. I've watched his content too. You know, he's concerned about Islamism, but he doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe in attacking people because of it any more than I do. I'm concerned about it too, but I understand that it's a tool that's being used, and it's not the problem anymore. If someone hits you over the head with a hammer, then the hammer is the problem. No, the hammer is not the problem. The person hitting you over the head was the problem. As I said, Islamization, the breeding of radical Islam, is a deliberate strategy by the New World Order. It's not. I mean, Muslims don't have to be a part of it. I mean, I've got nothing against Muslims. I believe in the freedom to worship. I'm not against Islam as such. I live with two Muslims. Islam is the dominant religion of the hospital portering service. What I'm concerned about is that it's been weaponized. Islam has been weaponized against the people, and this includes Muslims themselves. And I think, from what I've seen of Dave, even though he wouldn't share my views on many things, this is something he does understand.
That he means the Muslim.
Yeah, no, what he should be talking about is Trump and Brexit. Those are threats.
Oh, Trump and Brexit again. Yeah. I've got a feeling I'm going to get. One day I'm going to meet Christie. I'm going to get caught next to her at a railway station or something, and the train will be delayed, and we're going to end up having another conversation. And it's going to be a right bundle of laughs. I will record it.
That's okay.
Who operate in this genre of red pill philosophy.
Yeah,
when you
those are
take
genuine
the
fucking
metaphorical
great,
red pill, it's just the first epiphany, the first layer. You realize how much you've been lied to all your life.
That is one of the most profound things Dave says in this video. He's absolutely right. He says the red pill. I mean, he's just simply, of course, he's referring to the secrecy, the lies of the media and things like that. And that's absolutely true, what he's saying. Absolutely 100% true. Being red pill is going through several stages of awakening. And Dave has experienced this particular awakening.
You discover that you've been fed an ideology perpetuated through biased narratives and spin. You begin to discern truth from illusion and reject the programming that they attempted to indoctrinate you with. Now,
Yeah, that's right. That could have come from my mouth, couldn't it? What you just said.
Oh, really? Where did he grow up?
It sounds like Ireland.
It is Ireland, Kev. What's that got to do with anything?
Yeah, so he probably went to some sort of religious school? Okay. I mean,
He might have done, but you don't know that.
if you want to talk about
I imagine
indoctrination,
Indoctrination?
that's actually where you
Well, he
get
does.
it.
He literally, yeah, he talks about nihilism and all this, again, Douglas-y shit later in the video, and he talks about them being a death cult
I mean, the people...
whilst
the
trying
death...
to essentially reach Christianity, which,
So Kevin's dropped off again, which is good.
yeah, I mean, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Also,
I'll come back to this in a minute. Anyway, I think what they're saying, or Kevin's sort of trying to drivel in his usually inarticulate way, and Christie's saying slightly more eloquently, because I think she's definitely the brains of the team, is that because Dave is in Ireland, which is more religious than Britain and Germany, where Christie lives. He went to an Irish Catholic school, or he probably did. They don't know that, but he probably did. It's actually his religious indoctrination which is making him say what he does now, which is absurd. It's a denial of the facts, because Dave actually says within this video itself that he was brought up in a religious family. His mother in particular was very religious, but that he his mother died actually a few months ago, and that's relevant because I'll come on to that later. But that he became an atheist. He became an atheist in his teens, or was it his early 20s? He became atheist as a young man, and he was an atheist ever since. So if he was an atheist for most of his life, and only now is he starting to go back to his original faith, how is his indoctrination at school relevant to that? What kind of indoctrination makes you dismiss what you were indoctrinated with as soon as you reach adulthood or semi-adulthood, and then go back to it when you're in your 40s or 50s? Because Dave's sort of middle-aged now. It's rather like what Alistair McGrath says. I don't know if you remember my video about Alistair McGrath, but he says, Richard Dawkins compares belief in God to belief in the tooth fairy. It's like a childish thing you put away, and McGrath says, well, in his book, The Dawkins Delusion, great title that is, Alistair. He says, I don't know of anyone who started believing in the tooth fairy at the age of 55 and it changed their life. Chrissy Cap, they regurgitate a lot of Dawkinsian nonsense actually in this pathetic little semi pseudo demolition of Dave's God Pill video. They really do. Let's carry on.
God, well, it's so strange. All of this is bollocks. Yeah.
Okay.
All
right, I'll hit play.
Now, if the red pill is the means by which you discover that you've been lied to, the black pill is how you learn just how dangerous those lies truly were. The black pill is where you descend down the rabbit hole further and learn just how bad things have become. It's where the consequences of evil become truly apparent.
That's white
Right, yeah. Hang on a minute.
supremacy, right?
White supremacy. All right, Christie is now accusing him of white supremacy. Now, the pill colour things. That's because he refers to both red pills and black pills. Now, this is terminology that comes from the alt-right. That's true. However, it has been adopted by the alt-light and anti-SJW MRA community. It has been adopted by them. And to be honest, it's quite a good descriptive. You don't have to be in the alt-right to actually appreciate the descriptive nature of the pill colours kind of thing. I mean, the red pill, of course, is very obvious. The blue pill, of course, is where you stay asleep. Morpheus holds these two pills. Oh, why not, But the black pill refers to something really, really bad that happens, or something really bad you suddenly become aware of. Yet it has a knock-on effect of good because it educates and, in a sense, it galvanises you. And that's what it means by the black pill. The black pill is something that's on the surface bad, but it sort of galvanises you. It's like some people were saying that it would have been better if Trump hadn't won and Hillary Clinton had won, because Hillary Clinton would make things so awful in America that it would black pill people into becoming more active, basically. And I think that applies to conspiracy theorists like myself. I think this kind of I think the pill metaphor is a good one for ourselves as well. But Christie reckons that's white supremacy. Dave's not a white supremacist. Dave is a big fan of Martin Luther King. But of course it doesn't matter, does it? Because they can say what they like about people. They can call you, these idiots call people racist and fascist, Nazi, misogynist all the time. As I explained before, it doesn't have to be true, and they don't care if it's true or not. They just say it anyway.
Yeah, fucking totally.
Kevin, you can see who wears the trousers in this relationship, can't you? Christie is definitely she's definitely on top. And Kev is definitely the submissive type. I think if he was starring in 50 Shades of Grey, he'd have the chains around his wrists and the leather belt around his ankles. And oh yeah, sorry, I don't want to be vulgar. Pardon me.
There's also another meaning to black pill. Black pill can mean the kind of depression brought on by becoming one of these fucking right-wing MRA dipshits.
Oh, more intellectual discussion. Fucking right-wing MRA dipshits, yes. Well, of course I don't agree with that. I mean, people of all kinds of people, the people he's referring to, very unfairly, using very unfair terminology, can be, there are generally an awful lot more cheerful than people like Kevin are. I mean, you could see, I noticed this when I was at the protests against Trump. I mean, the people who were attacking me, and the people in the crowd, in the huge crowd of people, they looked miserable, they looked frightened. They looked, they really were. They looked like people who were desperate. They were. I think their ideology has not made them happy. That ideology has created some really, really awful. It's a really, really awful way of looking at the world. The idea that you're a victim and you have to either hate others or hate yourself. If you're a white straight male, you have to hate yourself. But it's about hate. You see enemies among people because of the colour of their skin or because of their sex or their sexual orientation. They are, by definition of those things, enemies. It's ironic, isn't it? Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that a day will come when a man will not be judged by the colour of his skin but by the content of his character. Today's left have thrown all that out. Today's left say, no, King was wrong. Absolutely, a man should be judged by the content of their character. Absolutely, and usually as a man, a white man. And honestly, Martin Luther King would be absolutely... He must be turning in his grave at the sight of the modern left.
But it can also mean becoming cognizant of the quote-unquote coming race war.
The coming race war. Now, Kevin is saying that basically that he's equating Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, with the militant white nationalists, who believe that literally the Illuminati are the Jews who want to exterminate the white race. The New World Order is simply the extermination of the white race. He's equating Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, with those people.
Right. Ugh, what garbage. Okay.
It's also the point where you begin to experience a degree of hopelessness and despondence. This is the point of rock bottom.
Yeah, that's it. I think a lot of us have been there, even within the conspiratorial community, you know what I mean. We've had a person who listened to critical mass radio commit suicide. Yeah, there's a lot of damaged people within our movement as well as within Dave's.
But luckily from there, the only way is up. Things can seem bleak, but it's virtually impossible to stay black-pilled for long.
The only way is up.
Oh, shut up, you brummy twat. Don't sing, whatever you do. In a sense, yeah, I mean, you do... I mean, I've been through some bad times lately. I mean, the last year, I mean, I've told you, it's not just the illnesses I talked about in my Still Ill video. I've had nightmares a lot, and maybe I'll say more about that in another video, but I've had a lot of nightmares. And I do feel delicate psychologically over the last 12 months. And again, I think it's connected to the other physical problems I've had. But I feel I've never felt there's no hope. And I'm very glad Dave has found hope. I really have. Whether you agree with him or not, that's a good thing.
Baby, for you and me now, the only way is up to, baby. Sorry, go on.
Give that man a bottle of Lambrini. I'm moving on. I'm not going to... Where have we got there now? Yeah, I'm moving on. 1640. Right, you are. Oh, no, I'm past that. Wait a minute. I'm on 17... Oh, 1640. Where?
Meaning to black pill. Black pill can mean the kind of depression brought on by becoming one of these fucking... But we need to believe it.
So I'm going to have to go back to this thing.
So in your just...
Nihilism or a degree of hopelessness and despond.
So I got the timestamps wrong. So we're going to have to listen to Kev singing again. Lower the volume for the next 30 seconds.
This is the point of rock bottom. But luckily from there, the only way is up. Things can seem bleak, but it's virtually impossible to stay black-pilled for long.
I'll lower the volume there. I won't put you through that again. But Christy says something interesting now.
The only way is up to, baby. Sorry, go on.
That was brilliant.
I just thought I had to intersperse. I had to intersperse something because he was doing my fucking head in.
Yeah, you do my fucking head in.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Difficult to entertain nihilism or despair for extended periods of time. Eventually, an appetite for hope, optimism, and meaning begins to develop. The soul requires nourishment.
Ah, so in your desperation, you make up an invisible friend.
Oh, shut. For goodness sakes, she's quote, in your despair, in your desperation, you make up an invisible friend. That is a line from The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. And of course, this is old hat, and it's very boring, and it just shows. I mean, there's a lot of this in this video, unfortunately. Where are we now?
Or you
this is
adopt
like
other
I say,
people's.
Yeah, he spent years and years
Oh, he's gone off again.
doing we need to do factobalisms and...
All right, Kev's just... I'm not going to listen to all that, but Kev is just basically saying that... he's simply saying that he's basically making another comment about Dave being an atheist for so long, and now he's seems to have abandoned the atheist skeptic kind of fact-based worldview. I can't forward winding up to the next bit.
cultural Marxisms and all the rest of it. And now he's doing... It doesn't matter if it's actually true or not. It doesn't matter if
But
they're
it
totally
does.
making this Jesus bullshit up. We need to believe it anyway.
No, he's not saying
Look, if
that.
it makes you feel good
So
and has you
basically,
done...
literally just not even field over facts. Literally throw the idea of whether it's factual or not out of the window.
He's not
just
saying
in
that.
feels.
No. Dave is not saying whether it's factual or not matter. He's saying it does matter.
Yes, precisely. This will make you feel better about yourself, and it justifies the patriarchy. Whoop.
I'll say more about this in a minute. This is another piece of feminist nonsense.
Woo! And, inadequate power structures, because
and-
the best life is the next life, not this life.
Oh, we're getting onto MBA. Are we getting onto MBA material now, Christy? Are you going to hit us with an MBA? We'll see, won't we? In fact, I'll leave that because she does come back to this kind of MBA-ish type material. Anyway, let's go forward a bit. Oh, no, not. Where am I now? I'm backwards there. I'll try and get it dead on. It's 1905. I might not be able to do all this in one go. I might have to film some of it tomorrow. Hang on, that's 18. There we are, that's close enough.
It's also very strange to me that he would associate Christianity with whiteness, given that the vast majority of the people who are Christians live in, Central and South America.
Look, he's not equating Christianity with whiteness. Where'd you get this from? This is stuff that you are reading into this video that doesn't exist. It's not there.
Parts of Asia.
Let's just go on forward a bit. 2200. I'm making that progress now. Where are we now? 1. Yeah, we go on to 2105. Hang on. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe
I'll-
check it out.
You should. Everyone should. Maybe
But
I'll...
maybe I won't. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to hit play now.
Enter the white pill, also known as the God pill. You begin...
What? White leader?
Yeah.
White in God?
Yeah, I mean, as if he why is he even bothering trying to code it when it's that obvious?
No. I think that what they're suggesting is that when he says white pill, he means white people. Again, assuming he's a militant white nationalist, they're trying to impose that identity on him. The term white pill within the pill metaphor, it's the opposite of black pill. It means something good and encouraging that happens that makes everything better for you and also encourages you to do more. A good example of a white pill would be the news in the UFO field of the last few months. The new revelations about UFOs and what appears to be a new climate of openness within ufology and its relationship with the state. That's an example of a white pill from our point of view, from within the conspiratorial community and ufological community. Within Dave's worldview, it's exactly the same. Anyway, let's go to let's move on a little bit. Well, right, 2200. No, back a bit. There we go.
Wickedness?
I don't know what that means.
I think this might be a good time to read out
Yeah.
the super
Good
chat.
Christian moral. I don't know. A story of
20.
a story of towns that wanted to rape angels, but instead the one good man in town offered up his daughter for the crowd to rape.
Oh, this
Then his two daughters
this is a
drugged
reference
him and
to,
raped him later
Exodus,
on, after
the,
their mother had been turned into
Sodom
a
and
pillar of
Gomorrah.
salt. Good Christian values.
Yeah. Or like Moses'
Where are
first big
Sorry,
thing. No, he
Hang on, I'm going to move forward a bit. I think we've got to go back forward a little bit because I've skipped that a little bit. 2400.
love part was, but I felt like I needed to read that out, and this seemed like a good time.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. I'm Kevin Logan, and I approve this message.
All right, I'm hitting play.
Religious teachings of my parents, who were both devout Catholics and quite conservative. And as I entered my teenage years, I began to become more liberal, and I believed that I could have...
I am
Yeah.
Well, people do. People go through different phases. I went through a very left-wing phase. When I was 18 and 19, I was a trade unionist. That happens. People rebel against... People, very often you'll find that children, when they reach the teenage years, will take the opposite position of everything their parents stand for. That's natural rebellion. Although my parents were always quite left-wing, actually. But I did... Well, it's a long story. But anyway, I became a trade unionist. But I got over that very quickly. Luckily, it was a very short, lost weekend. I was only hardcore. I was hardcore probably from less than a year. But Dave became liberal as a teenager, so let him carry on.
shocked.
have all the answers.
I'm deeply shocked that this man who was raised by hardcore conservative Catholics would end up becoming a hardcore conservative Catholic when he becomes a middle-aged cock.
Yeah.
So what he's saying now is he's going back to the education thing. He's saying the nurturing that he received as a child is basically the source of his current ideas, when this is completely false. Dave rebelled, he turned against his parents' conservatism. You can't possibly say, therefore, that when he reaches middle age, somehow his parents' indoctrination then suddenly comes back again. This is a repeat of the point they're making about education. But it's not tenable. It doesn't really fit. It doesn't fit the logic. It doesn't fit. It's not common sense. It doesn't fit the evidence.
Yeah, I am absolutely blown away by that. So surprising.
He's very sarcastic, Cav. He's always really sarcastic. He's foul-mouthed. He's sarcastic. He's got an irritating voice. Why is it I watch every video he uploads? I'm like the two old guys in the private box of the Muppet Show. Why do we always come here? I guess.
Right. Just like Roosh, as someone else pointed out.
It's referring to Roosh V now, who's this horrible. He's this pickup artist pickup artists are a form of MGTOW, men going their own way. And maybe I'll do another video about MGTOWs because people have asked me if I'm a MGTOW, and I thought I'd talk about that. I'm not actually. Spoiler alert. But I'll have to probably make a whole video about that. Roosh V is a kind of MGTOW. He's a pickup artist. They're MGTOWs basically. They're non-celibate MGTOWs who go around seducing women for casual encounters. And he's a horrible little man, actually, Roosh. Well, to be fair, he's actually changed in the last year or two. He used to be a horrible little creep, but he's actually changed. He's becoming more like he's becoming more sort of sensible, actually. But anyway, I haven't looked at that into detail. But that's who Roosh V is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That science and secularism were adequate substitutes for religion and faith.
Well,
they don't have to, one doesn't have to be a substitute for the other. The two can work together, and they will come back to this point a couple of times, Kevin, Christine. And I kind of partly agree with them on this. Anyway, let him carry on.
science, secularism, humanism, and moral philosophy. I think you need moral philosophy too.
Well, he's basically this is Christian apologetics. He's not.
Well, you see, you don't understand what Christian apologetics are, Kev, because if you were, you wouldn't be making this video which displays your ignorance of the subject. It really does. And Christy is slightly more worldly wise on this than you are. She even makes a couple of good points, but you don't even you have said things which just show how little you know.
Not even doing maybe I'm a bit spiritual. This is straight up Christian apologetics.
So what?
But it's not just Christian apologetics in the service of like mankind in totality. This is Christian apologetics just for the white dude.
No, it's not. This is another thing you're making up, and you're making up to put into Dave's identity. It's actually pretty slanderous, Kev. What you're doing. It really is.
Take the call, Kev.
Preserving Western culture.
Well, yes, preserving Western culture is not a dog whistle for we think all non-white people should be killed or something like that. Again, this is smearing him. This is really disreputable of you both.
which means white people's power institutionally.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, hitting play.
But as I grew older, I also became more conservative, and I began to realize that the wisdom of my parents was based on something timeless, universal, and tried and tested for thousands of years.
Yes, when you have a supremacy paradigm and you maintain it, then the people who are, the demographic that benefit most, they get the best deal. He doesn't want to change that.
That's actually... No, I don't think that is not what Dave wants. I mean, again, I think what Chrissy's doing here is she's bringing up this idea of white male privilege, which all I can say is just watch The Privilege Myth. It's a short lecture by Dr. Jordan Peterson. It explains how nonsensical it is. I've mentioned this in other videos. There's lots of other videos demolishing this idea of white male privilege, and so if you just have to Google it, just Google white male privilege debunked, and there's so much there. However, she does actually Christie's actually about to make a good point, I think.
Not just that, but if it was like Christianity, it's only been around for 2,000 fucking years. Because, I mean, the Jews were here before, so surely you should be Jewish if it's like you need this timeless thing, don't you?
Yeah, and also, if it's so timeless, why did it take until the 20th century for marital rape to be criminalized?
Now, this is actually a good point. A society with religion is not necessarily a good society, and secularism and humanism actually can do good. And she meant the point of marital rape. That is that a man legally can, that consent for sex within marriage is also as much as important as sexual consent outside marriage. That is, it's a product of liberal humanism. That's true. And if you do rely on, and I think Dave would probably admit this actually, and then Kevin and Chris are going to try and paste an identity onto him when he doesn't admit this. I think Dave would understand that you cannot base a society completely on the religious scripture. You can't. There is a place for humanism. There's a place for secularism. So Christie's actually partly right there.
Right?
Okay, I'm just going to go forward a little bit because they bring up another point now. 2720.
And instructions that not only made intuitive sense when carefully studied, but actually had been essential in building and maintaining our Western civilization.
Now, I should point out that even though, despite what I just said, Dave's point about Christianity and about a religious nature to society, a religious nature, a religion can also do good. And he makes some good points about this later in the video, which I'll come back to. But a belief like this can give people identity. It can bond them. It does if they have a spiritual basis to their identity. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sanction, wives being raped by their husbands. It doesn't automatically mean that. But it's a question of balance, I think. But anyway, I'll let him carry on.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in to say Jesus actually didn't teach anything. He preached the Torah. He preached the Jewish, like the oral law, the more liberal Pharisaic form of Judaism against people like the Sadducees and others who wanted to just go by the written law. So actually what you should do if you really want to get back to your roots, Dave, is convert to Judaism. Because that's what Jesus was preaching. Jesus wasn't a Christian. He was a Jew. He was Jewish.
Jesus wasn't.
Yeah, that's actually true. What she just said. Jesus wasn't a Christian. No. I mean, any more than Karl Marx was a Marxist. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a Jew who did. His life was one of religious preaching. However, he preached a form of he advised people to adopt a lifestyle which he believed would bring them closer to God, and it was about being saved. It was about saviour. He was a saviour of the people, of the humans. He would give his blood to redeem humanity. That was what he said. He was like the saviour, which actually does exist. You read about it in the book of Isaiah and things like that, about how there is a Messiah coming for the Jewish people. Christians, of course, are the people who went along with that. It was actually several centuries later in the Roman Empire. But of course, this is a complicated subject. I won't go into in detail. But now, Christy and Kev do come back to several other theological points, which I'll skip over simply because it's not relevant. And they're mostly right about that. But I'm going to move forward now to 29 minutes.
His like teachings, quote unquote, were so foundational. How can we have rich people?
Rich people.
Because they can't enter the kingdom of heaven. Literally, you can get. Jesus was a sarcastic prick about this as well.
You're a sarcastic prick.
It's easier for a camel. You know the camel, the big fuck up creature you see.
Yeah, all right. Well, what he's saying is Jesus said it's easier in the Gospels. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Camels, of course, cannot pass through the eye of a needle. It's impossible. So in other words, it's even more impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And Kevin and Christy are going to come back to this because it's what they're saying is this is essentially a speech against capitalism. But is it? Because it's... I mean, in theological terms, there's been many different interpretations of that, and I don't have the knowledge really to go into detail about why that might be wrong. However, this thing about richness associated with the idea that there's many people who are filthy rich while there's some people who are really, really poor and destitute is associated with capitalism an awful lot. But again, that's a very Marxian interpretation. And Kevin is kind of like a quasi pseudo-Marxist, I think. It's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's like people who are capitalist apologists. Adam Smith, Ayn Rand. You know, these people are capitalist apologists who say that there would be capitalism breeds inequality, but it doesn't necessarily breed poverty and extreme rich wealth. It can breed wealth and less wealth. So that's kind of where it. So really, I think Kevin and Christy are looking at this camel and needle thing, which Jesus said, quite a famous thing he said, and they're interpreting it in an oversimplified way. Let's move forward till 30:35.
Yeah, I mean, he was just basically a guy who wandered around preaching, so they just lived off of what they could get.
Oh, hang on, 30:35. Oh, yeah, the 30:35. That's what Jesus did. He wandered around. Yes, that's true. That's true. But of course, the lifestyle he talked about, he preached, has inspired many societies. He's one of the most influential men who ever lived.
You know, and shared around in their community because they were a bunch of, like, we would call them hippies these days in terms
Reminds me of a Red Dwarf. Jesus, he had long hair, he didn't have a job. Of course he was a hippie.
of communal living. But, yeah, okay. Hitting play.
While a decade ago I had buried myself in the Horsemen, in my mid to late 20s, watching Hitch, Harris, Dawkins, and Dennett own religious apologists.
Right, this is the Four Horsemen. It's basically it's a film actually you can get. I've got the DVD of one of them. You can get them on YouTube. It's basically two feature-length dialogues between the four horsemen. They're called the Four Horsemen. These four famous atheists. That is Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, Richard Dawkins, and Sam Harris. I've watched them actually, and it's interesting. And this is again, if these things were so influential on Dave Cullen, where does this fit into this idea that somehow his childhood indoctrination by his parents is the source of his conversion to, or his spiritual awakening in middle age? It doesn't make sense. Again, you can't. Are you suggesting there's some kind of latent indoctrination that lay at the base of his subconscious or something, just to emerge when he's like hits the age of 40 something? Now, Dave proves them wrong with his own words.
In debates time and time again, I had, however, dismissed all too quickly that the Horsemen were simply unable to adequately refute the claim that you cannot get an ought from an is.
The ought from an is. Now it's a very complicated philosophical premise, which basically refers to the idea that you can somehow you can somehow generate an argument from morality out of out of practicalities. I mean, oh God, how do I say it? So morality is the idea that morality is essentially embedded in reality, and many people argue, well, it's not. Morality is something that intelligent, sentient beings create. It's complicated business. Stefan Molyneux's done loads of videos on this, but anyway.
Science is...
Yeah, but you can't get an
Well, whoa, time out. Yeah, but why is it their job to do that?
Yeah.
What?
And religion can't do that either.
Nope.
Because that sort of is a universal conundrum of sorts, right? That you can't get an ought from an is.
No, I'm going to skip forward actually to the next point. 32, 30.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll hit play. Sorry, I had a little bit of a tirade there. I'm going to hit play.
Is the means by which we understand the physical world around us. It is not
Science is the way by means we understand the physical world around us. Yeah, that's true.
the means by which we derive our morality. For that, we need philosophy, metaphysics, religion. Human beings...
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that's true, actually. I've covered this in previous videos, but you see, I think you can actually. There are people who believe you can get a code of ethics from scientific reality, and that's a complicated business. And I mean, I still think that. I can't remember the details of it. I think I covered it in a previous video. It was one of my Skeptics in the Pub videos. But I did actually make the case that there is such a thing. There is such a thing as inherent materialistic atheistic morality. You can actually be moral. You can actually gain morality from material in the same way that spirituality and a spiritual philosophy can be used to bypass morality, as indeed many organised religions do. Anyway, I'll let them carry on.
You don't need religion.
I agree with Christy for once on that. Yeah, that's one. I do agree with Christy Winters on that one. Yes, call the papers.
Honestly, you could use religion, but you don't need religion for
don't.
morality, because
You really don't.
you don't get a lot. You get a lot of ideas, but not a lot of implementation.
Right. Okay. Let's move forward. Well, implementation. Yeah, you do. What she's saying is there's a lot of hypocrisy within religion, which is true. She makes some more comments I'm going to skip over now because she just simply repeats that point. But there are theocratic societies which are extremely immoral. I mean, for example, Salafist and Wahhabist Islam, which you find in countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and places like that, where they have terrible human rights records. And of course, a lot of that, in this case, these bad human rights records come from religion. I mean, of course, the fact of the matter is these countries are essentially, they're only as influential as they are and as rich as they are because of the oil industry and because of the intervention of the globalist economy. If the globalist economy wanted to shut these countries down, they could, but they won't. They could declassify free energy, of course, and we wouldn't need oil. But I mean, if they wanted to, they could just say, well, we're not going to do business with you because you push homosexuals off cliffs. That would be the morally correct thing to do. But in a sense, that's an interesting point, actually, because you have immorality within religion, but then, of course, within globalism. Globalism, in a sense, has its own almost religious-like subversion and bypassing of ethics. Because, of course, they will say, a globalist realist, like a realpolitik proponent from within globalism would say, well, yes, we could say we're not going to do business with Saudi Arabia anymore, but what would it do to the price of oil? This would devastate the economies of A, B and C, this would cause unemployment in the West and things like this. So in a sense, those people are essentially saying, well, the people who are killed and imprisoned and have other atrocities committed against them in these regimes are essentially sacrificial lambs for our society, to maintain the order. And in that way, they're no different from the Aztecs who used to rip people's hearts out on the altar. The Aztecs and the Incas used to do these things, not because they liked seeing blood pouring everywhere and hearts being ripped out of people's chests. They literally believed that they needed to do this to appease the gods, or the sun wouldn't rise the next day. Honestly, the executioner is always with us. Is always standing beside us. Whoever we are, whichever society we're in, he's standing there with his arms wrapped around the priest, and with his other arm wrapped around the economist.
In religion. And you get, yes, in the monotheistic, problematic things as well.
Oh, hang on, where are we? 3350. Let's go forward. 350. Right. Oh, dead on.
Stick towards religious folk, or your fucking day, good for you. But the point is, religious claims about truth are definitely in conflict with science.
Yeah.
Now, religion...
No, they're not in conflict with, not necessarily. The two can coexist. Indeed, someone within the chat box, this was actually a live stream, and someone within the chat box is about to say something very interesting, which causes a bit of trouble.
In general, and science don't have to be in conflict, that's fine. But actually, yeah, if you claim the Earth is 6,000 years old, or indeed if you claim that...
Yeah, of course, the Earth is not 6,000 years old. And if people believe that, then they are in conflict with scientific truth. That's the case. Same with the flat Earth. I've done an entire video on that. However, there are plenty of people who are religious who don't believe that. There's plenty of people, really. There's famous scientists who are religious.
You know, different kinds of animals and all this shit, or that Noah's Ark is possible, or any of that stuff, then you are definitely in conflict with science, because...
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you assert there is something like a soul, and that human consciousness can exist outside of the material body that produces the experience of consciousness, you're in conflict with science.
No. Now this is, in a sense, Christie has suddenly injected a completely separate subject into this discussion. And it's one, she does it very, very succinctly, actually, in a very, very simple way. She says, as soon as you start saying there's a soul, and that consciousness exists beyond the brain, and the soul, in a sense, is a dualist sort of thing, you're in conflict with science. Well, of course, as you know, from the videos I've made about psychical research and other things like that, you'll know that I don't believe that. You'll know that's not true. So that is not in conflict with science, is it? If something is scientifically demonstrated, for example, the afterlife, through studies of, say, near-death experiences, and of seances and mediums and things like that, then you're not in conflict with science. You're in conflict with science if you say that consciousness is produced by the brain. I don't know why Christie suddenly brings this up, actually, because it's completely irrelevant to the general... I think she wants to sort of inject this little point in there, anyway. Anyway, let's go forward a little bit. 36 dead, 36 minutes. Oh. Try again. There we go.
Going to be important to
Yeah.
that local food chain.
Kevin's a bit indistinct, so he doesn't have a very good microphone. He just sort of sits. He sits in this armchair with usually Rory Katz is sitting on his shoulders or is wandering around behind him, and he's often a bit indistinct. But I mean, I'm using basically a loudspeaker here by the camera mic. I don't have time to sort of insert different clips and things like that.
Kind of a weird
So
mix.
he's a dick, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he could be. He definitely could be a dick.
One is the means by which we understand the physical world around us. The other is the means by which we derive meaning and moral instruction.
Again, I don't think that's true necessarily. He's right about science, but I mean, it's true we develop more meaning and instruction from religion too as well. Yeah, that is true.
Ooh, I don't...
People can be inspired to do good things, inspired by their faith. There's a lot of freedom fighters who are religious. I mean, Gandhi, he was a Hindu. Former Martin Luther King, again, he was a Reverend Martin Luther King. He was a churchman, and their belief in God inspired them in many, many ways.
I need to read a book that was written thousands of years ago to get meaning out of my life. I don't...
Well, that's true. I mean, the Bible, again, where did the Bible come from? Who wrote it? You've read that stuff by David Van Eyck and Brian Desborough. I'm sure you're familiar with those ideas about where the Bible came from. But it doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that there's no divine wisdom within the Bible, because I think there is. I think there is divine wisdom within the Bible. I know it's been translated 3 times. I know it's been edited by people. Saint Jerome, cut half of it out. but it still can give people meaning.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and of course, I don't need to get my morality from people who literally thought that stoning gay people and disobedient children were appropriate things to do.
Yeah, Mithril.
Again, this is a straw man, stoning gay people and disobedient children. Again, this is like you're taking, like, again, give the example of Saudi Arabia where that sort of thing really happens. You're then saying, well, that if someone like Dave Cullen has these new ideas that come into his head, what's he doing? He's essentially saying that the source of morality can only be whatever the source of the morality of Saudi Arabia is. I don't think that's fair at all.
Hunt in the chat says,
Mithril Hunt is one of the moderators of Kevin and Christie's live chat on whenever they're doing live streams and hangouts. No, I won't. Actually, I'll skip. I'll just summarise this because it's a bit drawn out. But Mithril Hunt takes offence at something that Kevin and Christie say, which is that. Well, no, they take offence later. He or she takes offence later. But Mithril Hunt has I think it's a father who's a biologist. And hang on.
Dad was a senior lecturer in biochemistry before.
Dad was a senior lecturer in biochemistry.
He became a vicar.
Then he became a vicar. Okay.
He has never felt any conflict.
And he's never felt any conflict. Okay.
Yes, that's called cognitive dissonance.
Oh, this Mithril Hunt. Yeah, so because of Mithril Hunt's dad being a biochemist and then became a vicar, Chrissy says, "Oh, that's cognitive dissonance." Right, I will skip the bit later on. Chrissy actually apologises to Mithril Hunt later, to her credit. I mean, that's an example of a Dawkinsian reflex. It's silly, bloody blah. It's incredibly crude and anti-intellectual thinking. But Kevin Christie adopted it.
And people have all kinds of.
Okay, I'm going to move forward now. 39:50. Oh, there's a bit of a gap now.
No, they were writing for a Bible. They were just putting down the stories for their community.
That's true. A lot of the Bible is an anthology. That's true, and a lot of the stories in it you can find in other books, such as some of the stories in the Bible you can find in the Quran and in the Torah. That's the Jewish holy book. Some of the stories were not meant. Some of the people who wrote the stories didn't know or intend them to be part of any anthology. That's true. But anyway, I'm not going to dwell on these issues that Christy and Kev talk about.
So he wants to make this sound like these eternal fixed things, when they're just some people's versions of what happened.
Well, you see, there are things that are eternal and fixed about belief of the type that Dave is talking about. I think they're trying to swing Dave too far on the pendulum and say that he's basically becoming a God botherer, a Bible thumping God botherer who goes, "Oh, you're doomed. I don't think that is not fair. Again, that's a straw man.
So, okay.
It's the idea that there is a higher power that man is answerable to, that governments and politicians cannot challenge, that the state is beholden to the values and morals that the populace subscribe to.
What? He does want to set up a theocracy.
I don't think that's fair, actually, because, well, firstly, I mean, I think Dave, the idea of a state in itself is dodgy, but I don't think he's actually saying he wants to put foot. I mean, I'll have to listen to that bit again. He's saying that the state is essential. The state can become a kind of community, a bit like smaller communities who have a church could be. I don't think to have a theocracy essentially is that the state is essentially an embodiment of a religious doctrine, and I don't think the two are the same. I think certainly when you put it into context of other things Dave says within the video, I don't think that's fair to say he's advocating for a theocracy.
Yeah, that's precisely what it is.
Shut up, Kev.
He's, again, having years of been like, oh, the feminists are a threat to democracy. He's literally now saying, yeah, there should be some things that politicians who are elected by the people and accountable to the people should never, ever be allowed to change.
Well, see, he didn't say that. He is a liberal. I think he is a liberal in the sense that he does believe in democracy. He does believe he's a free speech advocate, an absolutist.
Because democracy is dangerous in some instances that I don't like it.
Wow.
This is Kevin Logan is a big time Ramoner. He says democracy is dangerous when it operates in ways where I don't like it, referring to Dave. Dave doesn't like it. Kev is the one who says, "Oh, don't go on about 17.4 million people voting in the referendum. It doesn't matter," you know, things like that. He is a big time Ramoner. He's not as extreme as some of them. He doesn't just say, "I don't care about this 2016 referendum. Forget it happened." He doesn't go that far. But he's certainly trying to downplay it, trying to reduce it to the level of an interim opinion poll and things like that. He goes into that in his other videos.
He's been reading, he's been watching Starship Troopers too, huh? He has Sargon's take on it. We're going to talk about the failures of democracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whew. Okay.
This is one of the primary utilities of religion in our society.
The Irish Constitution, the preamble begins.
Dave is now including a clip that he recorded with someone called John Waters. I'm not sure who that is, but I think he's a theologian.
In the name of the most holy Trinity, in whom is all authority, and to whom, as our final end, all matters of men and of states must be referred.
That's terrifying.
Well, that's what John Waters... I mean, John Waters there essentially is advocating a theocracy, based on what he just said. But is Dave saying that is what he agrees with?
That means the Catholic Church is in charge of what your country should be.
Yeah. Which, thankfully, the Irish good people have decided was maybe not such a great thing.
I'm going to move forward now to the next bit.
Apologetic bullshit. It's very similar to the people who are like, we need to be able to proselytise to children in the public schools in America.
Dave is not saying this. This is a guy he's interviewing. This is a guy Dave is interviewing, and he may have believed that he could get some words of wisdom from this guy John Waters. This is not Dave saying that he advocates exactly what John Waters is saying. He just decided to include a clip of this in his God Pill video.
Okay, well, what about if there's a Muslim teacher that wants to do that to your kids? Oh no, that's outrageous. I'm a taxpayer. Yes, that's the point.
Yes.
Fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm. When it's for me and my way of doing things, that's fine, but nobody else.
I don't think he's actually saying that.
That's a thing.
Okay, hitting play.
No, that's it. It's something else. It's a mechanism to do something. And what is it? It's a mechanism to take the most fundamental rights of human beings and place them out of the reach of human beings, so they can't be interfered with.
When is that? Hang on, whoa. Show me a theocracy that ever did that. Show me a theocracy that was ever better than a secular society at human...
Well, I mean, I think what this guy's saying is he said that certain human rights should be made holy. They should be made sacred. For example, the right in Ireland, of course, is the abortion issue is a very, very big one at the moment and always has been. Well, you could say that if someone regards human life as sacred, including unborn human life, you can make it part of your constitution because it's sacred, because there is a sanctity of life within a religious doctrine, which therefore cannot be repealed for some secular, because of some secular reason. Is that such a bad thing? If it is really a noble, if these are noble ideals, not dissimilar to the U.S. Constitution, for example, which I know is not. It's not based on religion, but it is still something regarded as sacred. It's still regarded essentially as a holy doctrine. Is that such a bad thing? Where are we now anyway?
Human rights.
Religions don't establish rights.
Religions do establish rights sometimes.
I'll show you a liar. I'll show you a liar by putting a mirror to you.
Oh, what a stupid piece of rhetoric.
What I'll do there.
Yeah, but religion
I should say I shouldn't be so. Maybe I shouldn't be so rude to Kevin, but it's not just he says some silly things. He says them in rather like crude ways. He swears a lot. He's sarcastic, and I just get the feeling he's really not thinking about it. He's not really a thinking kind of person.
The religion does not grant us rights or constitute our rights. Only the secular state does that.
I don't agree. I think a state can adopt the sanctity of various religious ideas if they're noble, if people believe they're noble, and can hold them as sacred because they are They are diktats from God. Do you see what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining myself properly.
And you can't have human rights created by human beings being outside of the reach of human beings to change it. That just makes no sense.
That's an interesting point. Outside the reach of human beings to change them. It's possible. Well, I mean, when you say putting them outside the reach of human beings to change them, that's what John Morton was saying. If it's somebody, for example, I would like certain rights to be put out of the way of somewhere where Peter Sutherland and George Soros can't change them. Because you say humans can change them. Humans could change them for what reason? It could be for nefarious reasons. It could be for destructive reasons. It could be the New World Order who wants to do these things, and they, you know how clever the New World Order are at psychology. You know that they can persuade us things. We've seen this in Ireland with the repeal of the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. It's now legal to kill human beings below 9 months of age. It's a fundamental and almost unique situation in the Western world. It's been reversed, and the way it has done. I've written a couple of articles about that, about how it happened. And I mean, that's an example, perhaps, of where the limits of secular humanism. It could be that those are their limits.
Whatsoever. No sense.
I don't agree, Christy.
It's gobbledygook.
Yeah. Especially because what version of the Bible are you? What version of the Bible are you going to be using for this?
Yeah, okay, that's true. But then you have to assume that again, this is the assumption that we're dealing with Orthodox Christianity here, the Bible, etc., etc. I mean, is that true? Is that literally what we're talking about here?
For these rights, Dave. Because there are lots of different versions of the Bible.
Oh, he said majority religion.
So which one are you going to be using?
So, tyranny of the majority.
Well, that would be. I think Islam is the largest. Islam is the largest in the world, so everyone needs to be a Muslim then.
Well,
no, that in a sense this is all hypothetical. It's not relevant. Which religions you mean, which version of the Bible, etc., etc. You're talking about when you talk about these sacred rights. I think Dave is making a more general, hypothetical case. I don't think he's actually referring to any particular religion here. And I certainly didn't get the impression when I watched his video myself.
well, according to
Christians.
Oh, he wouldn't like that. Okay.
And that's how you protect human beings from tyranny.
Nations and even empires that lose religion tend to collapse within a couple of generations.
Yeah. I understand what John Waters was saying, the guy who Dave was interviewing there in that sequence. You can protect people by keeping some of their rights away from people. I understand that, because we all know that the definition of people is what? It could include people like the Tavistock Institute manipulators who work for people like the Open Borders Foundation. I think I understand what he's saying. Anyway, Dave carries on saying about there's this book called The Fate of Empires.
First, I know it's going to take forever, but that's how you protect from tyranny.
No.
Again, show me where the religious state has ever not turned into a tyranny.
Okay.
Yeah, we got religion out of the state because...
Okay, no. I'm going to go forward now because they're just repeating their points. I'm going to go forward. That's it, right?
Time out.
This is where Dave is now going to talk about the fall of the Roman Empire and the fall of civilizations generally, and its connection to...
Time out. That's not true either. And actually, he doesn't know about the Roman Empire in a moment. It could be very strongly argued that it was the introduction of Christianity that helped.
I'll go back slightly. Sorry, I'll go back slightly.
Romans, just in terms of more political philosophy, much more important one.
The way you can distinguish a secular state is that religions are allowed to be practiced freely.
That's actually true. Try setting up a church in Saudi Arabia. I know what she's saying there. Christie's actually right about that.
Actually.
Yeah.
Because the state doesn't get involved
Well,
in
Dave doesn't want
religious
that.
beliefs.
Yeah, Dave doesn't want that though. No. Dave wants, oh, well, the white man's religion needs to win because the white man is best.
What ridiculous! He's the white man's religion. And that, again, that's just another smear. That's another nasty little slur from Kevin Logan.
Yeah. Of course,
Even though,
the
like you
religion
say,
he's rooting
it
for
was
isn't
started-
white.
Yeah, he was started by brown people and mostly followed by brown people. But other than that, white man's religion.
Rubbish.
Exactly. All right, hating play. He's just so, yeah.
Get on with
Yeah,
it.
he's full of shit.
This is the
That
pattern
is so
that
full of shit.
Shut up.
Yes.
So this is irritating now because I need to get on to the next bit where Dave is talking and I can't find the exact spot by forward winding. I just want them to shut up and just play because Dave...
Sorry, go on.
That's all right.
John Glubb observed time and time again when he catalogued the rise and fall of great powers throughout history. When an age of decadence is reached in a society, an age of liberalism follows. When you take God out of the equation, man tries to become God.
Okay, this is The Fate of Empires. What's that? Is that the Fate of Empires? This is a book. I've not read this, so look it up. Fate of Empires. You can get it on PDF, that's good. The Fate of Empires by John Bagott Glubb. That's a good name, isn't it? Right, yeah, he. Right, it's. Anyway, I don't have time to look up this Mr. Glubb and what he had to say. But anyway, I'll carry on with what they were talking about. One moment, here we go.
Time out. That's not true either. And actually, he goes on about the Roman Empire in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually. I think what Dave's about to say, and I don't want to cut him off. He's going to say, let's have a look. Oh, and I'll actually, according to my notes, there's
It would
more
be
coming.
very strongly argued that it was the introduction of Christianity that helped worsen the problems in Roman society and in the Roman Empire. That
Is there a connection? Did the fall of the Roman Empire happen because of Christianity, or was it the other way around? I mean, we know that the Roman Empire adopted Christianity after Constantine. It's famous. I mean, David Icke has talked about this. I think it was in the 3rd century that the Roman Empire adopted Christianity. Then it split into the two Eastern and Western empires. There was the Byzantine side and there was the Roman side. But is that true? I'm not sure. But anyway, I think the point Dave is making. I'll let him carry. Actually, I'll let him
led
carry
to
on.
Rome falling. Now, it's not Christianity in of itself that did that, but it undoubtedly hastened Rome's fall.
And what was his point again that he just made? Something about. Oh, let me just go back a little bit. What are we at 40? Just go back a couple seconds.
An age of liberalism follows. When you take God out of the equation, man tries to become God.
But man is the person who humans. But men wrote down what God was. So again, he was. I know he thinks.
No, that's not the point, Christy. You're saying, but essentially that man made God, not God made man. So that religion is a man-made thing. It's imaginary and it's a fantasy and all the other Dawkinsian things. Richard Dawkins goes on about this. That's not the point Dave is making. That's irrelevant. Whether religion is real or not, whether God is real or not, the point Dave is making is that the effect that God, real or unreal, has on a world in which people believe in him.
That God is separate from the human creation of the idea of God, but it's not. So again, he wants to say people had this. Well, I guess what it is men in ancient times gave us an idea of God, and now.
Okay, I'm just going to go forward here because she's not making any sense. I mean, in fact, there may be a couple more things where Dave talks about, but basically, it's not actually. It's not literally God. When Dave says society declines without God, he says we take God out of the equation and we enter a phase of decadence and liberalism and man becomes God and then we lose things. It could be all kinds of things which are rather like religion. That is, transcendental ideas, things that give people a sense of meaning to their life beyond normal existence, normal everyday existence. This is a huge subject, but in a sense, there are things that replace religion. People who don't have religion often exhibit religious-like behaviour for other things. It could be It could be a football team even. Some people say, for some people who are really, really keen supporters, football fans, and they have a team, the team can become a kind of religion. It can become, that it has its own, it has its sacred symbols. They get tattoos of their football badge, things like that. It could be it's the various rituals that go through to the chants and things you get at football grounds. But it could be a band you love or something like that. It's something transcendental that gives you something beyond the person who just gets up in the morning and goes and eats and sleeps and goes to the toilet and things like that and does all the mundane things that every living thing from bacteria to oak trees does. It's something that's I don't think it's unique to humans. I think other animals, several other species of animals, have this same need. But you need meaning, and you need something that gives your life meaning. Because if you don't have meaning, you become the simple things in life they take over, and this includes sensory satiation and such as drugs, alcohol, things like that. And also, again, you fall into the situation which we've already talked about. That is, where you stop trying to find an ought from an is, and the ought goes out the window, and all you have a row of is, which means basically you can do whatever you like because there's no ethics at all. It's pseudo-psychopathic behaviour. You start exhibiting pseudo-psychopathy. Indeed, we're seeing this in our world. I think the majority of people are pseudo-psychopaths. That is, people who are not... I've done an entire video on psychopaths, so check that out. But people who are not psychopaths but nevertheless exhibit psychopathic behaviour because they feel compelled to by the society they live in. That is, I think, really what Dave is referring to God. He says take God out of the equation, but it doesn't have to be God. It could be something else. It could be something else. This is why sport is such a healthy thing in society. The sport is absolutely essential. Because it channels our natural aggressive instincts, especially for men. We have these natural aggressive instincts. Sport channels them into a harmless pursuit. I think a world without sport would quickly descend into civil war. It gives us something to get excited about and to feel passionate about, and that's what we need. We do need that. And again, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be God, but God does give people this. It gives a belief in God does give people that. And in Dave is actually right, except his perspective is too narrow when he says just God. And maybe he doesn't even mean that. Maybe it's just what he says here is exhibiting a narrow perspective that he doesn't have. But either way, Christy and Kev failed to address the point he makes.
And we can't change it. Even though people made it up, people can't change it because time.
Oh no, this is
maybe.
No, this is.
Everyone would give a different answer, and that's what we get.
I'm just trying to find.
It's kind of funny how people.
I'm looking for something more sensible here. I think it maybe go back a bit.
Everyone would give a different answer, and that's what we get. So what do you think it is?
Yes.
All right. So
anyway.
Well, clearly the Zoroastrians are correct.
Right. Well, they are very ancient. And
Yeah,
apparently,
exactly.
Whoever did it
way
first
older
did it
than-
right.
Way over than Jesus.
Yeah. All right, hitting play.
Which is once again trying to infiltrate every facet of our culture and compromise our...
As he talks, I think what he's talking about here is cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxism is trying to... Well, cultural Marxism, again, is a tool that is used by the New World Order. But this is what the point Dave is making. He's saying that, in a sense, religion... I mean, I know that he doesn't... That's not the point of his entire video, even though Kev and Christy both tried to portray it as such at the beginning of their review. But he's saying essentially that belief in God, belief in Christianity, is an obstacle to the cultural Marxist takeover of our collective minds.
Our institutions in the form of globalism believes that the state is God, that it can be mother...
What?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we believe that the globalist state is God. Yes. I mean, as I said, this is a negative form of what I was saying earlier about the need something replacing religion. They are saying that it's a kind of that it's. Oh.
Yeah, communism is trying to take over all the facets of our state.
Yes, it is. Well, communism is simply a word for. It's just a word for a particular type of society that does resemble the New World Order in many ways. In terms of it's communism, like Agenda 21. It's a completely resource-based economy. It's a completely planned economy. It's a complete organisation of everyone's lives. It is exactly what. It is rather like the New World Order.
Through globalism.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So George Soros.
Soros. Yes.
Capitalism.
Who's like a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Is also a.
Yeah. He's saying, well, George Soros is a multi-billionaire, but he's also a communist. Well, yes. You see, again, this is going back to the camel with the eye of the needle thing. Kevin is what he's doing is he's saying that richness or rich people are indication that these people support capitalism. If they didn't, then they'd give all the goods to the poor, etc. Again, this is a misunderstanding of the of what capitalism and what socialism is.
Right. Yeah, Dave, I think you might be fucking mental.
Another intellectual argument from you, Kev, eh? He might be fucking mental. Well, that's all right. Just say that, and you don't have to address any of the points he makes. Or you just replace them with a rather weak and inaccurate and confused interpretation with the point he was making, which is what you've done.
I think you might be full of shit.
Yeah. It's the billionaire capitalist communists.
You see, Christy misunderstands it as well.
Okay, sorry, it's a billionaire capitalist spreading communism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly correct, Christy. You're right.
Wow. To live in this sort of alternate bubble, it's weird to visit this.
Okay, I'm going to move forward a bit.
Dog whistle.
What dog whistling again?
Is it Jainism?
No, I've got 50-10.
Confucianism?
Sorry, 50-10. I've got to go back.
I think he's on about the Hindus.
Zoroastrian.
Oh, look. Go forward a bit. There's no tag on this. Hang on, 50. Here we go. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly correct, Christy. You're right.
Wow. To live in this sort of alternate bubble, it's weird to visit this. It's very weird.
Yeah, I mean,
father
this is
to an infantilized, powerless
instantly living in an alternate bubble is how I feel whenever I watch your two channels.
and impoverished proletariat. It doesn't even matter if you believe in an afterlife or an interventionist.
They're not going to MBA him now, are they? No, I think that comes later.
What are you talking about? I don't know what he's talking about now. Who's impoverished in the West?
Well, let him speak. You're interrupting him.
I mean, there are poor people, but I mean, like, historically...
He will explain in a minute.
It isn't true, Dave. I don't know what he's even really referring to here.
I know, it's like a PragerU video. It's just a lot of words.
It's the way of talking shit, basically.
PragerU is a channel which Kevin and Chrissy are always criticising.
Yeah, no citations. None at all. Okay, hitting play.
God at all.
It's like PragerU, but
Yes,
even less
yes,
well-researched.
more on
Yeah.
feels
Get on with
and
it.
even fewer facts, if that's possible. All right, hitting play.
Or how the universe got started. These discussions are great fodder for theoretical debates, but they won't build or maintain a society. They won't protect against communism or indeed another outside religion that seeks to dominate.
Okay, no, they won't protect against communism. I mean, Dave, communism, and again, socialism, Marxism, these things are tools, as is the other religion which you're talking about. Okay, this is not the threat. These are the weapons being used by the enemy. They're not the enemy. But then that's a kind of like a criticism I have of Dave Cullen himself.
Oh, here we go.
He's a dog whistle. Yeah, he means that he's talking about Muslims. He's talking about Islam. It's not really a dog whistle. I mean, it's obvious what he's talking about, isn't it?
Dog whistle.
What religion could that be?
Dog whistle. Sorry, go on.
Is it Jainism?
Oh my
Is it
now.
Confucianism?
I think he's on about the Hindus.
Zoroastrianism.
Yes.
He's threatened by the oldest
They like making the same jokes over and over again. You might have noticed.
school in the book. All right. Oh, what nonsense. All right, hitting play.
Everything the left has done has been a
Damn you,
gradual...
Incas.
Will you shut up and let him speak?
Everything the left has done, everything the left has done, like civil rights and the women's movement, expanding, like the economy in those ways.
That's not what the left has done. It's just, see, it's like, she's again saying, it's again going back to the secular humanist society sort of thing. You need those things because they're the ones who achieve women's rights and, ending slavery and all these other things. It doesn't... Okay, well, suffice to say, it's actually Christianity that was a major force in the ending of slavery, definitely.
Okay, let's see.
attempt to take people away from who and what they are and where they came from.
Communism.
Christianity...
Of course, yes. It does. They want to take people... They have to break down the natural order, which means people living in families, for example, they have to break up families. They have to take the children away from the parents. They have to split parents up. They have to create single-parent families. They have to remove the fathers from the equation. They have to remove the fathers from children's lives. Then they remove the mothers by putting the children into care. And they make people hate each other. They create feminism so that women hate men and the men hate themselves. That's exactly what the New World Order is. It's not as I say, it's not communism doing it. Communism is the tool, but that's what they do. That is, and they disconnect us from our the natural way we're supposed to live in so many different ways. I mean, just look at how organic human society is being attacked from every direction, and it's being attacked from every direction by people who want to turn us into monsters so they can rule us. Only 500 million of us, the rest of us will be killed and bring us up under Agenda 21. That's what this is about. I mean, I don't think Dave understands that. Chrissy and Kev certainly don't. But to be honest, I don't think Dave Cullen understands that completely either.
He celebrates the vital importance of the family unit.
Yes.
See?
The family unit it's the cornerstone of everything. I mean, look at Bezmenov and the things that he was saying. I mean, this comes up in a little while. Dave refers to Bezmenov. The family is essential. The family is a wonderful thing. I mean, when I say family, it doesn't mean that if a member of the family is gay, you've got to kick them out and things like that. No. Families learn to deal with these things. They learn to deal with things like members like that because they have love. They deal with it. It's about breaking down. It's about destroying love. You see what I mean? I'm just think about it. How? Oh, I have to do an entire video on that.
Patriarchy.
No, shut up, Christy. It's not patriarchy.
And yeah. And of course, it's not Islam.
Yeah.
So those are its two most important things. Yeah. Right? It's a wedge.
Yeah, I was about to say, Islam is very much in favour of the family.
Yeah, good point.
And Judaism and every religion ever.
Oh, where are we
Yeah,
now? I think, can I go forward a little bit? 52, 55. Right, I'm going to go forward a little bit. 52, 55, yeah.
They're very,
Yeah.
very pro-family.
And of course, for women, they have to live with that situation. But
So I couldn't
okay.
find the right
But yes,
spot.
different
Well,
form.
yeah, but only men are.
Yeah, but when he's talking about family, yes, like the idea that somehow Christianity is unique in that, not so much. Okay,
The most powerful defense against an authoritarian state.
I'm sorry. Did he say the family unit was the most important defense against an authoritarian state?
It is. It is. If you have a loving family, it's the best way of protecting yourself from state intervention. Because the idea of the state is to replace the family. As George Orwell said, there'll be no love except Big Brother, love of Big Brother. The idea is that the only relationship will be that between the individual and the state. That is the New World Order. That men and women won't fall in love anymore. Children will not have parents. You will not have friends. You will not have communities. You will not have nations. You will not have cultures. There will just be you, the individual, and your relationship with Big Brother. Orwell perceived this very, very well. He really did. That book, 1984, is so clever with what it does.
He didn't say that, did he? That would be
I think he
ridiculous.
might have done, which might be the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Because
Yes.
for instance, let's take pre-Nazi Germany.
He's going to make. Oh, I'm not going to listen to all that, but he's going to make the case that there's family bonds within pre-Nazi Germany, therefore Nazi Germany happened even though there was a family, and it's. Oh, blimey! I don't know how to.
They don't have the nuclear family state in that regard. They did.
Yeah.
Nazis still happened.
But somehow that didn't protect them. The presence of strong family bonds in Germany before the Nazis didn't protect them from the Nazis. That's assuming that the rise of the Nazis was simply the product of there was no other influences involved, and somehow that the family is the only thing you need. It's not the only thing. You need other things as well. But being a part of a loving family is the first step to gaining more defences.
What about pre-Mussolini Italy or pre-Franco Spain? Did they have the nuclear family and strong religious?
And he always mentions what's conventionally known as fascist societies. Kevin always does that. Kevin doesn't ever refer to things such as Stalinism, Tito in Yugoslavia. He doesn't refer to Mao in China. And it's always the right-wing boogeyman, isn't it, Kev? That's you dog whistling. That's you dog whistling for socialism.
Yeah, they did, and it still turned to fascist authoritarianism. It's almost as if Dave's talking utter shit.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I just want to hear that contiguously to make sure. Got it right.
The family unit, the most powerful defense against...
I'm just going to go to 5425. Oh, it's dead on just now.
Women are clearly defined,
Aha.
with great respect given to the unique roles of the mother and the father.
Yeah, women are given respect, but
Dave.
no agency and no autonomy.
All right. Now, what David said is he said that within a healthy family and within that men and women are aware of who they are in terms of the roles they play in society. Christie, of course, is interpreting this in the feminist way, which is yes, so evil white men can maintain their grip over the poor downtrodden women and non-white people. Well, I'll let her speak for herself, because I want to portray her and Kev as fairly as possible.
So what kind of respect is that?
Yeah, I was about to say, men are given quite a lot, not so much. And also, sly dog whistle dig at the trans people there.
All right, yes, I did interpret them fairly. They are interpreting this as I said it. They're saying this is all negative. This is all about maintaining the evil white male patriarchy, etc., etc. And I don't think that's not what Davis said. This is a typical misrepresentation of the men's rights movement. It's typical. I'm going to go forward now to 5810. Oh, good. I get ahead. Hang on, I'll just play a bit more of that. Kev's gone quiet.
Oh yes, too, and also any gay couples as well, right? Because it's not only
No. I'm glad I played that bit. Dave is not against gay marriage. He's not. He's done videos where I think he is. I'm sure. I don't think he is. No, I don't think he is. I'll double check that, but I mean, I would remember if he was against gay marriage. In fact, none of these anti-SJWs, I think, are opposed to gay marriage. I think they're all in favour. If two men or two women are in love, they're in favour of them, tying the knot through the usual way. That's absolutely fine. I agree with them. I'm not against gay marriage either. But I think they're going to try and persuade. Again, I think they're going to proceed on the assumption that that he is, that Dave is against gay marriage. Let's carry on a bit. Right, 5810. I'm going to go right forward to 5810. I don't have any.
What they've thankfully become, because, like I say, with the fact that they've had the abortion referendum.
All right, they're going on like the abortion stuff. Well, I've already covered that. Here we go. 5810.
to the party in terms of catching on that the Catholic Church scandal has actually credited
exactly.
everything he's claiming here.
Well, I mean, I don't think Dave or I or anyone is actually trying to defend ethical record of the Roman Catholic Church. We're not. We're honestly not. I promise you.
Yeah, exactly. The Catholic Church. If you ask virtually any Irish person, they would have a slightly different view of the Catholic Church's role in the Republic of Ireland than Dave does.
Well, I don't think Dave is specifically referring to the Catholic Church.
Very, very different.
Mm-hmm. All right, hitting play.
Of raising children in a set of values shared by other members of our community and tribe. The community building aspect of the religious service.
It's not a dog whistle to talk about tribes and communities. Dave is not referring to white people and sod everyone else. This again is Kev being disingenuous in the extreme. It's tribe is actually the tribal structure of society is actually a very healthy one. I believe the tribal structures can exist in the post-Illuminati world, and they can be contiguous with modern technology. We don't have to go out and live in caves or anything like that. We can have a tribal structure, which is maybe, I think it may be compatible not only with modern technology, with the nation-state system as well. It's not the idea of tribes is not a bad thing. It's not primitive. It doesn't mean we live in primitive, although of course pre-Illuminati, pre-industrial culture did consist of the tribal system. It also doesn't mean racial bigotry either. It doesn't mean racial exclusivity. Kev is misinterpreting this again.
Mass and the profession of faith ensure that every...
The thing that he said mass, it shows that he's talking about Catholicism.
No, that's the term he's bound. Yeah, he's using the term mass because that is he lives in a country which is predominantly Roman Catholic. Doesn't mean that he's referring necessarily to the papacy and the Vatican and all those other things.
Yeah.
Because other Protestant faiths call it service.
They do.
Yeah,
they call it
a little
service.
dog whistle there by saying tribe.
Shut up. No, you're not.
Right. Yeah.
And you know
Okay.
what you mean.
All right. Hitting play.
Everyone knows they are part of something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. It's important. This again goes back to the idea of meaning.
That there's an authority beyond a democratically elected politician in office. This is how
And
a
there
nation
we
state
go.
is maintained. By
Is
recognizing
that a bad thing? Do you look at the democratically elected politicians we have in this world? Just look at them. They're some of the most despicable and disgusting people you can ever imagine. They are literally some of the most. They seem to have all the worst qualities you find in humans. Cruelty, cowardice, stupidity, and the democratic countries are going through a terrible crisis right now. I mean, the democracy is supposedly the perfect political system. Yet all democratic countries are experiencing this crisis, including the mother of parliaments, Britain. Really, democratic countries are ruled by some of the most, as I say, some of the most repulsive people imaginable, and they are. Some of them have approval ratings in single figures. So, if we live in if it's a perfect system by which we nominally can choose our rulers, why does this scum keep floating to the top? Why do we keep choosing these awful, disgraceful pieces of slime to rule us?
Okay, I'm just going to pause here for a moment and insert this little studio section here, because I'll ramble a little bit in this particular part of the video. I think I'm slightly tired, actually. I did this late at night. As I said, I'm going to weddings and the weekends. I don't have time, so I did this late at night. But it's such an important point. I want to insert this studio thing at the moment, okay? Because this is a perennial question. In a world where we can supposedly choose our rulers, why do we never end up with rulers we actually like? Democracy is one of the most evocative words in the English language. It is loaded down like no other with emotional, cultural and political baggage. Wars have been fought over democracy, which have cost the lives of millions. Some people will start weeping at the very mention of the word. The quest for democracy has produced some of the most dramatic tales in history, from the Chartists to the suffragettes to Mandela. We're told that democracy is the ideal form of government, the end goal of historical politics. Yet most democratic countries, even very old democracies, are suffering from a malaise. Democratic governments have a major credibility problem in their relationship with their citizens. Look at Brexit. Some political leaders even have approval ratings in single figures. Cynicism is endemic and electoral turnout is low. Citizens will more often find themselves voting for negative reasons instead of positive. They'll vote in order to keep somebody they don't like out of office, rather than to elect somebody they do like. Democratic countries are ruled by some of the most loathsome people imaginable. They are almost all cruel, stupid, selfish, weak, cowardly, corrupt, and amoral. And, despite the fact that we can nominally choose our leaders, these kinds of people always rise to the top and nobody seems to know why, let alone how to stop them.
Dave is making a good point here. He's talking about the limits of democracy, and democracy does have limits. There's nothing wrong with what he's saying. There's nothing wrong. He's not doing anything bad here.
The divine, there we go, the divine dictator, the celestial North Korea.
Celestial North Korea is a term invented by Christopher Hitchens. And again, I think Kev is misunderstanding. I don't think he's actually misrepresenting deliberately, but I think he is misunderstanding Dave's point.
Brilliant.
Oh, you can see why he likes Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Recognizing the value of the family. As you can see, it's not hard to understand why the leftist cultural Marxists have attacked religion and the family at every turn.
Yeah.
It's good that, thanks, Dave. Thanks for giving me and Christy a shout out there.
Exactly. Well, to be honest, joking aside, Kev, that's a joke at your own expense.
No, it's not attack. How is expanding the notion of what is a family attacking the family?
But that's not what's happening. They're not expanding the notion of what's attacking. Leftist cultural Marxists that Dave's talking about are not expanding the definition of what's a family. They're trying to break down what the definition of what a family is. They're trying to destroy families completely. I don't believe gay marriage is a part of that. I know some people do. I don't agree with it. It's a lot of other things. It's like I say, it's feminism. It's child stealing by the state. It's social workers poking their nose in everywhere. It's teaching parents to hate each other. It's teaching parents to hate themselves. It's teaching children that it's education, the indoctrination in schools. Again, this is a misunderstanding.
How is bringing more people into families and acknowledging them and validating their relationships as others are validated attacking?
Because
Is Dave actually against that?
But Christy, that's a really good argument you've just made there and a solid basis for building a society, but have you thought that only P and V works? So, check my ideologies.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm going to appeal to God.
I get the feeling, in a sense, this is a conversation at cross purposes. Dave and Christy and Kev are kind of on different railway lines and never will they meet. And I often have this feeling when I'm talking to certain people as well. I sometimes feel like we're like just two TV sets that are playing different channels and each one is unaware of the other. And I don't want to bore you with my own personal issues to do with that, but I get the feeling that this conversation is very similar. It's stunningly and rather disturbingly like some of the attempts at dialogue I have with my own dad.
Yeah, exactly. And also, cultural Marxism isn't a thing, Dave. You stupid cockhead.
Yes, it is. I know it's sometimes. Some people say it's a misnomer, and it's the Frankfurt School and things like that. I've got nothing to do with Marxism, but that's a big subject to go into. But it's even if it's the wrong word to use, I'm not sure it is actually, because there's no doubt that the classic Marxists, in a sense, evolved into the cultural Marxists, like you get the modern SJWs in a sense, because they replaced the proletariat with these other victim groups. There's actually an excellent analysis of this by Stefan Molyneux. He talks about this in very, very, very cleverly actually. He explains this, which means that cultural Marxism is directly related to Marxism. It's just another form. So it is a thing.
Sorry, go on.
Yes. No, that's all right. That needed to be said too. Okay.
This is what Yuri Bezmenov covered extensively in his lectures.
Good. Dave is now talking about Yuri Bezmenov, exactly.
Version of America, like many Western nations, has taken place by promoting hedonism, sexuality, drugs, and the obsession with materialism, individual rights, and individualism.
But it is, isn't it? It has. I mean, look at how we're so cut off from each other. I mean, if we ever have sexual relationships, they tend to be casual. They're more likely to be casual now. They're more likely to not have any feeling behind them. And that's deliberate. That has been done deliberately to split us off from each other.
It sounds like capitalism.
No, it's not capitalism. It's, again, I've covered that already. I'm not going to repeat my point.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the thing you've been prickling the thing. That's literally what you've been doing. The traditions of your ancestors.
I'm going to go forward to, go back. 101.10. Close enough.
Okay, hitting play.
Anything that gets people away from Christianity, settling down, starting a family, and raising their children in the value system of their ancestors.
Well, Christianity, it does. A Christian community will be more likely to produce stable families.
Ooh, like
White
being on a computer?
people.
Yeah.
White people.
Oh no! Now Kev is accusing.
Yeah, exactly, Dave. The thing that keeps you alive.
He's now accusing Dave because he uses the word ancestors. He assumes that means just white people. Again, trying to paint this idea of a militant white nationalist onto Dave Cullen, which is extremely unfair. In fact, as I said, it's slanderous.
What's on in your house is not the traditions of your ancestors.
Okay, I'll just go forward a little bit. Actually, I'll skip that bit. I'll skip that bit because he 103.15. You get it dead. The problem with these long videos, you have to get them on the right spot. Alright, that's close enough.
Dave, you're literally saying it doesn't really matter if it's true or whether you believe it or not, but go to church anyway because feels over facts.
No, I don't think he is actually. I don't think Dave is saying that. I think we covered this before. We covered this before. I'll go forward to the next bit actually. Now we're starting to get into a situation where they start repeating themselves. I'm actually going to skip over a lot of this now. I'm going to skip over. This video is actually becoming quite long. 106.50. Here we go. Because I've realised now that this is a lot of this is just repetition. What a nice.
Look at your cup.
Oh, no. No scissors. Okay, I'm hitting play.
A child and a savior born to bring peace to the world is a powerful message and a symbol of hope.
Actually, he didn't bring peace to the world. Did he?
No.
Okay, we're going to the theology now. I won't dwell on this, but the idea of Jesus bringing peace. I mean, there's lots of quotes where Jesus says, "I'm not come to baptize you with water, but to baptize you with fire." He says, "I've come not to bring peace, but a sword." It's one of these things in the gospel you wonder exactly what he means. But Jesus is also the one who said, do good to those who loathe you and turn the other cheek and things like that. And there is a lot of this idea of peace and indeed the formation of love of I don't know. There's something. I mean, see, I'm not a theologian, but there's something about Christianity which, at its theoretical level, is about forgiveness. It's about forgiveness. It's about reconciliation. It's about the breaking down of resentment in order to find healing. Alistair McGrath actually talks about this I think he talks about this much more eloquently than I can. Indeed, compared to Christy and Kevin, and even Dave, but he talks about, for example, the Amish community. The Amish they're a sect of very devout people from, I don't know where they come from originally. They live in Pennsylvania, USA. They're famous because they don't use modern technology. Their homesteads and their villages are just simply time capsules of the 19th century. They ride around on horses and things like that. Someone actually someone actually went into an Amish school with a gun and shot the place up, killed lots of people. It's an all too common thing in the United States. A lot of good was done by the reconciliatory nature that the Amish people showed towards the family, though. And the man actually shot himself after he'd committed his atrocity. But the family of the man who had carried out the atrocity ended up making friends, and they ended up creating a bond with the Amish community. And that sort of thing is very healing. And indeed, you know, Jo Berry, the woman whose father was killed in the Brighton bomb, she has formed a bond with the man who planted that bomb, who's just been released from jail, and they now go around the world on peace. That it's preaching an end to war and things like that. I've forgotten his name now, but those two are now good friends, even though he's the man who killed her father. She's managed to forgive him and to try and use that forgiveness to bring peace to the world. And indeed, that's one of the things I like about Christianity, because it's the most difficult thing in the world. I don't feel peaceful towards many people. I know that it's not always possible to be peaceful at all times. But if you can have it, it's a wonderful thing to have. And that's what Christianity does. And I think bringing peace, when Jesus brings peace, I think that's what Dave means. And again, I think what Christy is doing here, I'm not going to play you everything she says, you go watch it yourself. I will put links to these source videos in the description. What Christy is essentially saying here is she's taking Dave's practical analysis of Christian society and the effect Christianity has on society, which is the one that I've just given, and she's just picking it apart with raw theological terms and an analysis of the theological nature of the religion, which is not, it's not false as such, it's just completely and utterly divorced from the point Dave is making. This is what I mean when I think they're talking at cross purposes. They're on different tracks. Okay, go forward slightly. Right. Now this, oh, here we go. This is going to be fun. Right.
It's this idea of jihad, do you not think?
Quite.
Which is strange, don't it? By which I mean perfectly sensible, because that's exactly who he is.
Yeah. Okay, hitting play.
To move away from Christianity, then they lose attachment to this story, and the origin story of who and what they are becomes rewritten. It's replaced with a focus on the worst moments in our history. This is why, in many modern liberalized Western nations nowadays, the native people are being encouraged to be ashamed of their past.
That's true. We're one of the ways they attack us psychologically is by making us. Oh, they talk about terrible things that are done in the past, usually by white people, and how, as a result, there has to be reparations and things like that. White people have to hate ourselves. White men have to hate ourselves even more. And black people have to hate white people, and women have to hate men, and things like that. And these injustices, these past injustices, are very often not even real. Whether they're real or not, the way they are being handled by the agenda is ridiculously, is destructive in the extreme, and it's meant to be. So that's the point Dave is making. I want to bring that up before you hear Christian Kev's reply to this.
In social
What? Oh, he means native people, like people who have ancestry in, like, European ancestry, of course.
Well, that's, to be honest, I mean, that is fair enough. There is, in genetic terms, there is an indigenous European people in racial genetic terms. That's true. This is not an argument to prevent people without that genetic history from coming into Europe or living in Europe or anything like that. As I said, the issue with mass immigration is something that goes beyond that. It's something I've discussed on previous videos. It's something that would not happen if it wasn't being made to happen anyway. You don't have to force people not to be in Europe. I mean, that's again, whenever you bring this subject up, that's what people accuse you of thinking, accuse you of saying. That's not the case at all. But there is actually an indigenous genetic people, an indigenous European people. Exactly. We'll carry on.
I don't. You guys, you're not native people, though.
White people again.
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm just going to go forward a little bit, actually. 12. No, hang on.
How?
There are no native people either in Britain or Ireland.
No.
There are native people.
Well, that's not true, actually. That's
ridiculous notion, and dog whistle number 1 million there, because that's precisely what he's doing.
No, I mean, well, no. I think what he's doing, he is actually talking about the indigenous genetic group of Europe, yes, but he's not saying as in the sense of white nationalism. Again, they're trying to paste this identity of white nationalism onto Dave Cullen. And it's not fair. He's not a white nationalist. Where are we now? Hang on.
Yeah, he's basically saying white
I've written down one of the timestamps wrong.
people without saying white people.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous to think about Europe as having a native population, given the movement of people up and down all across Europe for centuries.
There has been movement, but the genetic basis of Europe has not changed. I mean, it's not, honestly. If both your grandparents were born in Britain, then you're probably descended from the people who built Stonehenge. And I'm talking about this as someone who is not included in that because my mother was a Dutch woman. So I'm not banging my own drum here because the chances are I might very well not be because my mother was a Dutch woman. Let's carry on.
Yeah, that's kind of and waves and waves of invasion.
He's going to go on in a.
I'm sorry, I'm letting them ramble on. It's just I've written down one of the timestamps wrong.
He's going to go on in a second and mention well, the social justice warriors want us to be ashamed of slavery and stuff.
Right, it's
but we need to be Christian instead. Forgetting.
This is what they want us to atone for national sins, collective guilt.
Well, not forgetting, being ignorant of or lying about that Christianity was up.
Do I have to play Do I have to play it? Hang on. What's happening now? The video's not working. Oh, come on. I'm going to stop anyway. I need to take a break. I've been going for 2.25 hours. Okay, I found the bit I was looking for. Have a listen to this.
And in order for you to be forgiven for your sins, you have to admit them and acknowledge them and atone for them. So if people on the left are pointing out national sins of the past, then the correct Christian response would be to acknowledge them, apologize for them, and then atone for them.
Right, so when the left point out that every single thing that's ever happened in the world is because of evil white heterosexual males, then the correct thing to do is for today's WHM people to atone for those sins, whether they committed them or not as individuals, or whether their great-great-great-grandfathers might have done, or perhaps whether or not these sins even existed at all, or whether they were real at all. For example, we often hear that white people are responsible for slavery. Slavery is something, unfortunately, that was, until about 200 years ago, was universal throughout all societies. And the Middle East was the worst offender. There are still slaves in the world today, and India, most of them live in India. But no one goes up to the Indians, no one goes up to anyone in the Middle East and says, you need to atone for these sins. But even in the case of India, it's present sins, not past ones. No one who has committed a sin, who's committed a crime, who's not individually committed a crime, they still have to feel guilty for crimes of people like them, even because they're the same sex or they have the same skin colour, whether these crimes are real or not, and whoever happened to have committed them. It's like I said, the left want to undo what Martin Luther King said. People need to be judged by the colour of their skin. And Christy has just repeated this. I mean, if you go watch her Sunday Winters and these other videos she does, she brings this up an awful lot more. She brings this sort of thing up an awful lot more than she does with Kev. Like Kev, I think there's a part of her that understands that Kevin Logan himself has his limits, and that she's a lot more candid when she's doing her solo shows. This is what's wrong. This is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with what's going on at the moment. It's because of this is the indoctrination that is being used at the moment to build a worldwide slave camp. And Dave, I think perhaps Dave, I don't know if Dave doesn't understand this, and a lot of the white nationalists don't understand this. It's not because the New World Order just don't like white people. It's not. They don't care. They dislike all people, all humans of whatever your colour, whether men or women, gay or straight. We're all farm animals to them. We're all fodder. We're all going to be for the chop. We're all going to be killed and replaced with transhumanist monsters. The reason it seems like they're against white people and they're killing off white people and things like that, it's a strategy. It's a strategy. It's not because they don't like white people. I mean, the effect is the same, obviously. But you have, in order to solve this problem, you have to see it realistically. And there's people, I think, on Dave's side who don't. And as for what Christy just said, I mean, that is revolting. That is something she should feel ashamed of, and I know she doesn't. And she never will. Let's move on now to. I've got no description for this particular timestamp, but I'll move on to 1440. Oh,
Deny their national sins.
Oh, she's still going on about that.
Whatever, dude.
Just as infested college courses in America, young Americans are brainwashed into self-loathing.
That's true. We are. We're as I've already explained. We're conditioned to hate each other. We're conditioned to we're conditioned to see other people as the evil, basically. And again, it's all about on your racial or gender or sexual orientation. It's all about that. You're encouraged to see other people as enemies or friends on those things alone.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's not an argument, Christy.
It's garbage, obviously.
Not an argument. Calling something garbage and laughing and tittering like that, like a stupid little schoolgirl, is not an argument.
I'd really like him to show me a syllabus where...
Yeah, I mean... No.
Go to any gender studies class. You can hear them say it. You know, the white people are a curse. White people are a cancer on the earth. Without white people, there'd be no slavery. Without white people, there'd be no starvation in the third world today. You hear them saying it. People have recorded them secretly saying it. Get on with it. Oh, God. Every so often, Kev's dropped out.
Were you going to say something, Kevin? Because you either dropped out or lagged or both.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh no! You'd started speaking, so I'll let it go. But I'll talk now continuously without a break, so that you know that I'm going to make a point in a second.
Get on with it.
Yeah. Your point you're going to make there that it's not written in the syllabus doesn't count because George Soros communist.
Of course, is very good.
George Soros
Right.
communists. He's got this thing. George Soros communists. He calls it. The BBC is the Bolshevik broadcasting communists. Communists. I must admit, Kevin can be funny at times. He can be quite amusing. I think that's why I watch him. He can be amusing. You know, you can laugh at him. He even laughs at himself sometimes. You know, he's.
No, I'm just going to keep going now, so I'm going to hit play over.
Atrocities committed by their ancestors from hundreds of years ago. The same is true of many European nations. Their people are being encouraged to feel an intense sense of guilt and self-hatred for their colonial past, for example. So once the story we told ourselves about where we came from, spirit...
That's true. That's true.
Got it.
Let's just stop. Dave. He says, notice how the very, very, very dishonest way he says, from hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
The Holocaust wasn't hundreds of years ago. British colonialism really only just ended. Well, actually, British colonialism
What's the point of that? Why bring the Holocaust into it?
still really exists in many different smaller ways, but in terms of it being a vast thing, that's certainly within living memory. The Irish rape of its own children by the Catholic Church.
Okay, that's true. The way he says about the Catholic Church is true. Yeah, but again, that's not something that anyone needs to atone for, other than those who as individuals have committed those crimes.
That's still happening.
I'm going to go for it.
Over.
Play over. He said his wife...
But you just come out.
You know anything to say to that?
Okay.
What do you do if you don't have a response? You have to over.
Oh, I have
You have to over my over then.
All right, they're just tossing.
Okay,
around.
I'll just say over.
Okay, over.
It's about negativity, despair, and hopelessness. You cannot build anything stable or successful on such foundations. On the theme of the birth of a child, third-wave feminism has promoted and attempted to normalize abortion. So the left
Yeah, it has.
has literally become like a death cult.
Oh, for fuck's
What are you
sake.
talking about?
See what I mean? He literally says,
But in what way is it not a death cult to kill babies? How is that not about? How is it not a death cult to hate people to the point, like for example, if you voted Leave in the referendum, in the 2016 referendum, they want to disenfranchise you. That is a death cult, is it not? I mean, stripping people of fundamental civil rights because they don't vote the way you want to. History shows this does lead to mass murder. It leads to genocide. Doesn't start with cattle trucks and mass graves. That's where it ends. It begins with the process we're seeing now in our world.
It's a death cult.
Yes.
He says it's a death cult, even though he's literally promoting an actual death cult.
What?
Fuck.
Dave Cullen is promoting a death cult. Oh, you mean Christianity? Oh, Christianity is a death cult. Well, using that terminology, arguably, you could say that was true in the sense that Jesus died and was reborn. He came back from the tomb.
You're such a dishonest piece of shit, Dave, that you just come out and say you want to control women and kick out brown people or / murder brown people. What?
Oh, hold on, what did you say?
That's the honesty. That would be the honest thing to reveal.
You're accusing Dave now of wanting to murder brown people and kick and control women. It's like having a conversation with that Catherine Tate's character, you know, the teenager who goes, "What, you saying this man? You saying that man? You saying that man? Am I bothered? Am I bothered?" It's like having a conversation with that character. So that's very funny. Catherine Tate is really funny. That character, you know, the one who says, "I ain't bothered. Yes, I am," and you can't get a word in edgeways. It's like that. Listening to Kev and often Christy as well talking about Dave Cullen is like listening to that character. It literally is like that.
Fucking prick. Oh.
What's ridiculous in this claim to me is that there are actually instructions on a ceremony that...
I'll leave that. Okay, skip that. That's more theology.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christian heritage and value.
Christianity that
Oh,
goes
hang
back...
on. Whoa. Right, you have to wait for the over.
But I thought you said the...
Oh, they're just clowning around.
The
now,
over.
Come on.
But I didn't say the over.
All right, I think we've said
It's
over too many
exhausting.
times. So
I must apologise to you listeners for all this bump in between, but I can't be bothered to edit it out, and it's impossible to avoid when you're dealing with a video this long. So apologies for the meaningless drivel these two people continuously subject us to. In between, interspersed with when they're trying to make points.
I'm going to stop saying over, and I'm going to play the video. Over.
As far as the crucifixion of Christ, getting people away from their Christian heritage and values, disconnecting people from God, and making them docile and compliant by promoting distractions that placate the masses.
Oh, Christian heritage
Well, is there anything there to be disagreed with? I think he's quite right.
and values.
Again, it's not just Christianity that can save us from that, but he is quite right.
Yeah.
Christian heritage and value. Christian heritage and values. Dog whistle number 1
Oh,
million.
shut up! It's not.
264,700.
It's not a dog whistle.
Over.
That's really weird critique since he's linking this to the United States where students apparently are being indoctrinated.
Okay, right. I'm just going to move forward. Christie, just 2350. I don't know what this is. 123 for capital. Oh, that's just. I'll skip that because I'm schooling about capitalism again. Okay, we'll just go forward to. This is where he talks about his mum dying, and I'd really dislike this part of the video because it's where Dave talks about his mother's death, and it's worth just have a listen to their response to that.
Maybe there was a drop for me because I said over right away. Anyway, I'm going to hit play.
Consumerism, pornography, sex, instant gratification, drugs, and materialism. Now,
Again, capitalism, over.
Yep. No, it's not capitalism. Again, I explained. I've already been through that. I've already been through that. How it's not. It's nothing. This capitalism, socialism thing. They don't understand it.
Yeah, you're literally describing capitalism, you fucking idiot. I mean, how much communist porn do you think there was? You idiot.
Well, you should know, Kev, because you watch it all the time.
All right, I'm going to hit play.
my mother, who was devoutly Christian, died 22 months ago
Oh,
today. Since
Yeah, you waited a long time to say over. You missed out.
Right. Sorry, just sorry, some of my computer's going strange. Just one moment. Let me just get out this. Just like what you just heard, Dave just announced that his mother died. I remember this when it happened. He was just organising Kilroy, this free speech conference in America, and he had to pull out. He was very close to his mum. He was very sad. The response to Dave saying this is jocularity from Christy and Kev. They don't even. I don't think they even refer to this. They don't show him any sympathy for his mother dying, or the possibility even that this could be. I'll just let him play.
You're over, so I missed out my over. I thought the bit was over. Over.
This is a game they're playing. I won't go into detail on that.
This is going to turn into who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third. Over.
This is getting ridiculous now. Do you have to over after laughing? I don't know.
No, over. All right, I'm gonna hit play. We're gonna try to get back on track here. Over.
Her passing, it's as though something has resonated within me that hadn't before. As though when she left, the doorway to some other place was left just slightly ajar, wide enough for some kind of light to come through. I knelt down one night, and for the first time in many years, prayed the Lord's Prayer. I'd said the Our Father.
Well, no, he didn't do that. Look, I get where people want to maintain a connection with
I wish
people.
he had.
Over.
I understand why people want to maintain a connection. I mean, that's the closest Christy has shown. Either of them have uttered in any way close to sympathy for Dave and his predicament for losing his mother. Also, there's some MBA there by Christy, Materialist Bravery Award. I think Christy is after that.
Well, it would have been...
And she ends up with a laugh. She has to titter in a stupid little way.
Maybe it wouldn't have resulted in this video, so it would have been maybe a better use of his time. Over.
Do you really think it's a laughing matter, Christy? Do you really think it's a laughing matter? Do you criticise Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, for when these skeptic feminists and had that terrible tragedy, she and her partner had that terrible tragedy, you quite rightly castigated Sargon for making a joke out of it, which I thought was... This is just to let you know, there are a couple of skeptic feminists. It was a YouTube channel, a man and a woman. They were both taking drugs, and he shot her in the middle of a drug-enforced delusion. She's dead. He's in prison on suicide watch because he's going to kill himself. Sargon of Akkad made a really evil, sick joke about that, and Christy pulled him up on it, quite rightly. But now she's chuckling when Dave talks about his mother's death. So, it's like, I know very well that Jess Phillips didn't laugh at the idea of male suicide rates, but she was laughing. She laughed during a speech about men's issues and Parliament discussing men's issues. Now, if we're going to talk about people laughing at inappropriate times and laughing in a way that of making jest out of serious and heartrending matters, Christy, maybe you should look at your own conduct within this video, especially at this point in it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would...
Instead of Jesus coming into your heart, he could have come into your anus.
What a foul thing to say. Kevin now is making an obscene joke. Kevin actually has a pretty has a rather his sense of humour is, what's the word, lascivious. I mean, he makes jokes about sex. I mean, a lot of people make jokes about sex, but Kevin's a very explicit and I think rather obscene. And you just heard one. I don't know how many. If you heard what Kev said, it says his microphone's not very good, but I'm not going to repeat it. Just listen to the video again if you want.
And you're going to say over? Or did you drop? Alright, okay. I'm going to hit play. Over.
This show is family friendly.
No, it's not. Over.
Father many times as a child. I repeated it like a mantra, words that never truly meant anything to me. But
so he prays for the first time in like 25, 30 years. Because his mum died. Now this could, of course, that doesn't mean that what he believes in is not true just because it's inspired by his mother's death. But it could, like he said, it left a door open for him.
This time, suddenly something changed when I reached the line, lead us not into temptation. Now, you can look at those words and not fully interpret.
Notice that it wasn't the forgive us our sins and our trespasses.
Don't start that again.
Trespass against us. It wasn't that part.
Oh, don't start that again, please. I've got to say, actually, a lot of people, Dave's video about this has been quite controversial even within people of his own side. people within the atheos, skeptico, anti-SJW community. And he's had a lot of scorn poured on him by people who took his side in the skeptic split, the skeptic civil war. You know, I had a conversation with someone on Facebook around this. Oh God. So begins a number of... I'll try and find it actually, because it's quite interesting. I had a very interesting discussion with somebody. I wonder if I can find it. I'll just scroll down. But it was, it's an idea of what I'm talking about here. It's interesting that... because... Where was it? This, I mean, I know some people on Facebook are alright, but others are no good. And where is it? No, it's down there. But I had someone said, it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. Where is it? Here we go. I posted a link to this video on Facebook, and somebody posted underneath about it's sort of the God Pill: Rediscovering Faith, My Journey Back to Christianity. Somebody, I'll call him John, wrote under this, I thought he had more sense. And I replied, I expect he thinks you did. John says, I've enough sense to know that religion's a man-made control system. I replied to John, Dave used to think that too. Wink. Rather than being scornful because somebody takes a different path to your own, why not observe them openly? Not feeling scorn does not automatically mean you have to take the same path as they have. It just means, as Socrates said, to entertain an idea without necessarily accepting it. John says, okay, Gandhi, whatever. I reply, very intellectual of you. And someone actually butts in here. Someone called Claire says, try listening to what Dave has to say in the video if you're willing to hold your tongue from sneering for about 20 minutes. Good reply, Claire. I forgot to like that. John says, I reserve the right to sneer at folk who believe in nonsense. And someone called Holly says to John, who died and made you the arbiter of nonsense? At the end of the day, they are all opinions. Yours is no better than anyone else's. I'll click like on that as well. I forgot to click like on those comments. This is... That's an example of what I'm talking about. That's from someone really within, not the type like Christian Kev. That's from somebody else. But anyway, let me carry on.
I'm just saying when he's talking about national, he was making the link to national things before.
Oh, she's repeating that ridiculous stuff about national atonement. Where am I now?
Indeed. And of course, to echo Dara O'Brien, was there a big trespassing point?
It's 4 to 28. That's
astonishing to me. Over.
Okay. Come on.
Yeah, he's so full of shit over.
Okay, hitting play. Over.
Materialism, deviation from the path, a denial of nature. If you corrupt the people, promote vice and their baser animal instincts, you bring about the destruction of the nation state. Promiscuity rather than monogamy.
Can I just ask a question?
Whoa. He's going about things being permanent and then starts talking about the nation state.
Well, exactly. I mean, I'm going to have to change the film ship in a minute, believe it or not. I've got to have... yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the nation state either. Dave obviously believes that you can have a kind of a state, in a sense, is like a part of the nation. Well, I in my opinion, the state and nation are two separate things. But I'm going to God blimey, I've been going on for ages.
But the nation state's a very, very modern concept, you fucking idiot. Look, the nation state didn't exist when Jesus existed.
Yes, it did. I mean, there was different types of nation states, like there was the Roman Empire, Judea, there was the Judea state, and Galilee provinces. But it was still a state, there's still a nation state.
You fucking twat.
See, he's full of abuse. It's always abuse, isn't it? Fucking twat. Fucking prick. It's all the time. He's just abusing, swearing at people all the time. That's Kev for you. I mean, I know I've been rude to Kev in this video. I've called him names. But, you know, I don't do it to the extent that he does. This continuous slurring all the time. Okay, let's move forward a bit. Marriage and feminism. This will be fun. 29, oh, 29.50. Okay, go back a bit. Okay, here we go.
It's a lot like his lifestyle, actually, less like the left over.
No, it's like the capitalist. He's talking about capitalism again. Cheers.
Yeah, exactly. It very much so. It seems to big boobies in the video games, but he doesn't want temptation, which is very strange. Over.
Agreed. And I'm going to hit play. Over.
Results in unplanned pregnancy, broken homes, low parental investment. Marriage is destroyed by feminism. Alternative.
Hold on. I think Reno, marriage is also going
Well, he's right. All those things he said are true.
to be destroyed by gaming. Over.
Well, all right. If someone's an obsessive gamer, you can imagine their wife, well, usually it's the wife because it's the man who's the obsessive, would be get annoyed with that. Yes, but so what?
Well, yeah, no, not just that, but if you look at the most religious states in America, the most they often have way higher abortion rates, way higher repeat abortion rates, and way higher divorce rates.
Really? Citation needed, Kev.
Gotcha. And also, just to point out, I'm not saying gaming destroys marriage. I'm saying that gaming, when someone is like not doing their housework and spends time on the computer, and the other person gets resentful.
Yes, but what's that got to do with the point Dave made? You're not addressing the point about feminism. I know you will in a minute.
That can be a problem in a marriage. Whereas feminism, what's been shown is that when there's an equal, better division of labor in the marriage, women are happier and the marriage is happier.
Okay, so the man and the woman share the housework. That's what you're referring to. That's not feminism. That is not necessarily. It's not feminism that creates that. You know, sharing the housework is one thing. Okay, being indoctrinated to hate your husband and your sons and believe that they are oppressors because of their gender. That does not make for a happier household, Christy. It doesn't. I don't see how you can believe that it does.
So, no. Again. Over. We're going to have to work out this lag. We might have to go back to you dropping
31.5. Okay, well, I'm nearly there now.
out of your Wi-Fi. Over. All right, I'm gonna hit play. Over.
Lifestyles are promoted. The act of sexual union between two people is no longer respected. Pregnancy and the creation of new life becomes a nuisance.
I've been in this situation where being a chap who was a hospital porter, serving in a mostly male environment, which involved a social life where I was socialising mostly with men, and this very often involved going to the city centre after a late shift or a day off, spending exorbitant amounts of money in pubs and nightclubs, and talking or approaching women and addressing women with the intention of very casual sexual relationships with them, which I only once or twice I actually did do, and well, in the long run, I don't think it did me any good. I don't think it was particularly good for my psychology, my own ability to bond. Although I wasn't as promiscuous as some of the other men that I was with when I was a porter. I did seek. I think I understood the need for a proper girlfriend. I understood the need for love, and indeed I did find love. As you know, I found Sue Stain. But there are some men, and I actually know them, and a couple of them I knew from the hospital. Not porters necessarily, but they were men who were, in a sense, addicted to casual sex. They therefore found it very, very difficult to form relationships. And one guy in particular got married to a woman who loved him, yet within 3 weeks he was shagging around again. He couldn't break that habit, even though he professed to love this woman. So what Dave is saying is absolutely true. And I'm curious, I'm going to have to change the film chip now, but I'm curious to see how you two bozos plan to explain this and say that it's either good, it's either it's a good thing, or it's okay, or that feminism somehow is a good influence on this. Back in a tick. Okay, this is rather a long and annoying video. It's going to finish soon. I'm getting through these things. Just going to let Christy, what's happened is Christy's going to make a statement now about what else Dave says about reproductive control. Let's have a listen to this.
I was going to point out that women have tried to control their pregnancies since time, like all the way back. Like how to perform abortions, or herbs against it, or other potions, or...
So what we have now is Christie saying that women have learned how to control their reproductive function, which is fair enough, through contraception and abortion. And like many so-called pro-choice people, and indeed feminists, she equates the two. So contraception, that is something to prevent you from actually conceiving a child, such as a condom or the pill or something like that, is equates with after conception, when a new life has been created, killing that new life. Are those two things really the same? Are they? I'll let it continue.
Or whatever else has been existing forever. This didn't come about with feminism.
Well, but it's feminism that actually equated the two. It's feminism that made abortion and another form of contraception. Right, let's... I don't think... Does she,
Over.
No, she doesn't need to elaborate that point. Is Kevin going to say anything?
Yeah, exactly. And it's as we mentioned, it's literally...
I could go through this just doing Christie's words, really. It'd be probably more interesting if I did that. Just do Christie only and not bother with Kevin.
Wow, that was like a 4-second pause at least.
Yeah,
that was a really bad drop.
Okay, well, I'm just taking the fucking wire out, and we're just going to...
Alright, I'll leave that bit. He needs to get a proper microphone. He needs to look at his connection speed and things like that. Right, right from the start. He does actually fix it now, to be fair. That's 3210.
Creeps in. No, so women have been controlling their shit for a long time.
Yeah.
She's just Kevin's repeating what Christie said there.
Okay, hopefully we won't have to see that anymore. Over.
And the state becomes the thing that everyone relies on, from welfare...
Creeps in. No, we know the orange cat.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a particular one that was being circulated or anything, or just Garfield in general. Not come from God, because rights change over time. They've been expanding.
All right, that's just repeat to the thing where she says, "Oh well, some human rights should not, should be kept. Human rights should be kept in the hands of humans, so they can be changed." Dave's friend John, what's his name, was saying, John Parker, whatever his name was, no, they should be regarded as sacred and out of human hands. That's a question I'm still thinking about. Okay, all right. Next segment, I'll go into 3410. So no, I passed that bit. Okay, 3550. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Also, just I want to go back. I want to say I have fond memories of Garfield. Just to come back to the Garfield point, because it was in my local paper, and I read my local paper growing up every day, and I always read the comments.
According to my timestamp, that's supposed to be saying something. A point. Now they're just going on about bloody Garfield. Who actually looks like Rory Katz.
One that was actually funny. So
come on.
So I enjoyed Garfield.
Should we actually just fucking get this? We're done now with this shit.
Okay.
This
sure.
We'll get coming to the end finally.
Basically,
it goes on like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I stopped presenting.
They only actually analyse about half of Dave's video. They've actually finished. They don't actually analyse the whole video. They stop this particular live stream and this analysis about halfway through Dave's video.
Yeah. So what else did we want to do? Because I was just Dave, you're a boring prick, and I just
prick boy.
Fuck off, Jesus.
Oh, that lag was ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, this is so much better.
Yeah. I don't know. But how? I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'll have to, because like I said, that's with the wire.
Oh, he's going on something else. Right, 37. There's one more timestamp here. It's 37:20, where here we go.
And I just.
No, that's fair enough.
Shut the fuck up. Gee.
Like the lag is gone, but sometimes you robot. But this is at least the lag. But you're right. Dave is very repetitive.
Oh, like
and he doesn't actually say anything other than his feels. And it's pretty much the whole video.
It was just feel.
Yeah, he's just turning into the conservative Christian he kind of, for a while, denied he was.
For a while denied he was? No, he became an atheist for his entire adult life, Christy. We've already been through this.
Basically, yeah. This is Dave. This is Dave. For a verse of the butterfly, the slug turning into a butterfly.
There's another quote from Christopher Hitchens. The butterfly turning back. It's actually George Galloway during a debate with Christopher Hitchens who said, "We're witnessing a butterfly turning back into a slug, although of course butterflies turn into caterpillars."
But it's not a slug, is it? It's a snail.
It's a
not a snail.
It's
So
a
that's
caterpillar.
all right. Anyway,
Caterpillar.
that's enough of that crap. That's the end of the video. Now, they're just saying, well, Dave's always been a god botherer, and you know he went through a brief period of an atheist or pretended to be an atheist. Now he's just going back. He's just admitting he's a conservative Christian again, which is utterly, despicably false. It's an utter lie. It's an utter gross, intellectually honest, simplistic dismissal of all the richness of what he said. Totally and utterly. And is it deliberate, or are these two people, Christy Winters and Kevin Logan, are they simply terminally and fatally obtuse, or are they actually lying? Are they deliberately smearing Dave Cullen? It's one or the other. But they're certainly not giving him a fair shake. They're certainly not giving him a fair hearing. They are completely... It's almost like they're not even listening to what he's saying. Or they hear words and then they're twisting them. I have not enjoyed making this video. I really have not. And in fact, I didn't expect to dislike it as much as I have done. It's been a longer video than I expected. It's now 10 past 1 in the morning. God, I'm supposed to be at work tomorrow. I'm glad to get it out of the way, but I'm still glad I've done it. I think maybe I needed to do it. What's more, I'm going to do another reply video to Kevin Logan. It's where, which will be maybe the next one I do. I'm not sure. It'll be after the weekend, because I'm going away to a wedding this weekend. Yes, not my own. That'll be the day. I'm going to a wedding this weekend, so it'll probably be next week, because I've got to do the Hapanwo show on Thursday, tomorrow I should say. So, but I will be doing another reply video to Kevin Logan, to somebody else, and then I hope to leave it alone. Because really he's somebody I seem to be fixated on watching his videos for some reason. I even put comments on his videos sometimes, but as an individual I really can't stand him. I really find him irritating, narrow-minded, and he has a very unpleasant manner. But for some reason I can't stop watching his videos. It's sad, isn't it? It really is sad. Anyway, I'm glad I put this one to bed now, and so I hope you enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen, more than I did. Thank you for watching Hapanwo TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.